As the sun sets on our journey, it's time for one final look back. Whether it's all background noise to you or you're looking for ideas for a team the next time you play through HeartGold and SoulSilver, these were my views on every single Pokemon obtainable over the course of the main story content, and a little bit beyond as well, actually. Let's get started. Are you ready to meet the worst starter Pokemon of all time? No fooling, Chikorita sucks. It's just not quite enough of anything to wow, and probably not gonna one-shot much with its giant move pool of most entirely grass attacks. It has no secondary type, like most grass-type starters would, and as a result, has lots of weaknesses. I don't think it'll always fall to those weaknesses necessarily, it's just defensive enough that it could probably take a single hard hit before going down. Possibly the worst part is the region it's in. Chikorita has a disadvantage against virtually every single boss fight in the main story, and the regular battles are filled to the top with poison flying and bug types. It just feels like the whole world's out to get you if you chose this thing. You'll be struggling to find good times to switch into it. On the plus side, I think they knew Chikorita sucked. The gene pool gave it Razor Leaf and Reflect at its low levels to make up for its shortcomings, at least in the start of the adventure. And that's how I think it should be used. Support moves, because what else is it gonna use all 4 of its move slots on? Okay, so access to Swords Dance and Earthquake is pretty good. That's probably the most single compelling thing that it has going for it, meaning that it's a pretty mean electric counter. Disappointingly, it's stuck with freaking Grass Whistle and can't even learn Sleep Powder. Pick Chikorita if you're looking for something different and you want a serious challenge. Cyndaquil is what I would call the intermediate difficulty. Cyndaquil's got a bunch of normal and fire moves, but that isn't really all bad. Fire is helpful against a lot of enemies and bosses that we encounter on this particular journey. It just kinda does only that one thing for a long time, and its moves don't get any more diverse until it's fully evolved. Definitely see what you can learn after that point. You could add fighting or even ghost into the mix after that. Its speed is great, hitting that magic number of 100 to outspeed most Pokemon. Perhaps reset for a plus speed nature if you want to beat out other fast Pokemon. No especially bad stats anywhere, so it'll take some lumps too. It's okay, not amazing, still better than Chikorita. However, I gotta say this, you do not understand how much it means to me that Cyndaquil is a normal boring fire type. You do not understand. I have been talking about firefighting starter Pokemon for over a decade now, and we're free of the curse! Seriously, the last time that we didn't have a firefighting type was Cyndaquil. All right. Totodile, best by a mile. More than just water and ice, it's aided by the physical special split to allow those types to be better than ever on it. It has access to Swords Dance to become an utter menace of the deep. We can add so many moves to it later on in life, such as Shadow Claw, Brick Break, and yep, Earthquake. It's a common trend among all 3 of them. A physical attacker and potentially a wall breaker, able to just set up and go to town if the opponent can't do much to water types, and that happens surprisingly often. I wouldn't call Totodile easy mode necessarily. This game is pretty challenging at times. In fact, if you're looking for a harder Pokemon game, I recommend this one pretty highly. I'd say that Totodile is the more fun option for people who want a rare, good physical water type. Water is also just generally the easy choice because it has the advantages at the same points that grass does, just with fewer weaknesses and more neutral matchups. Totodile is a good boy. Pidgey, or as I call him, worst Spearow. Pidgey is likely the worst possible bird Pokemon that you could choose from on these early routes, only having the advantage of being available mere seconds before the competition. There's plenty of good normal flying types, its stats are all middling, and both of its abilities are useless. So, it would have to have some kind of stellar move or something to make up for it. Frickin' ouch. It's stuck using Gust until it's fully evolved, and even then, all it gets naturally is Wing Attack and Air Slash. About the only thing that it has going for it is U-turn and satisfactory speed with which to use it. About the only rare thing it has is Feather Dance, which lowers attack. That utility in Challenge Run is about all the use case that I could see for poor little Pidgey. So Pidgey is our day bird. At night, we got Hoothoot! I know what I said. I don't know what it is with birds and having their stats on backwards, but that's the problem here. Loads of good physical moves that it can't use for bananas. I don't know if that's actually a saying. The special bulk is the greatest prize, able to hard counter certain Pokemon, especially grass types. It just sucks that its physical defense is so puny. You send it out against special users, you do something to set up, and then you chip them down. It gets Shadow Ball and Psychic, but you'd be better off teaching those moves to other Pokemon, I think. Reflect and Hypnosis tend to be the better choices, as it gets those leveling up, and I think it's just good to put a Pokemon to sleep and then do a setup move. I might even say that this is a rare Pokemon that would enjoy using the move Dream Eater, which will absorb your opponent's HP as long as they're asleep. It's not a horrible Pokemon, and it has some moves that you don't really see on a lot of birds. Its stats just kind of work against it. At any time, we can find Rattata! What a total wet hanky this first route is. I guess that's what you get for wanting a serious team member on the first frickin' route. Rattata is pretty speedy, and it has some pretty strong physical power, if you can activate its ability, that is. And the items that can forcibly enable it are pretty far off. You'd have to willingly get burned or poisoned and just not heal up at a Pokemon Center. Otherwise, it's just kind of there. I wouldn't say it's the worst thing ever or anything. It gets Crunch and even Sucker Punch with that tiny little paw that it can look forward to. It gets Swords Dance surprisingly early for a nice buff. It's all right. I just think it's better to use mostly any other normal type or any other physical attacker or any other Guts user. Basically every normal type gets a strong anti-ghost option, so it isn't exactly creative or new. Sentret. So this is where it all turns around. Sentret is a bad Pokemon that I happen to like. It's not the most useful or amazing or anything, but its stats are fine enough in some areas, and it learns a colorful array of good moves. You could go for a normal type nuke by teaching it Return. Shadow Claw's a pretty accessible move for it, and it's got a high critical chance. And you can even pop U-turn onto it with decent speed. If there's a weakness, it's that Brick Break and Elemental Punches are pretty off limits compared to how it is in other games, and the special moves that it learns are quite useless on it. On the flip side, Sentrance Evolve Form learns 5 different HM moves and could round out a party pretty well if you just need traversal skills. Hey look, it's better Pidgey! Spearow is a Pokemon I would absolutely recommend over Pidgey 100% always. We get Aerial Ace at a low level, which is far stronger than anything Pidgey gets until friggin' level 30. This move never misses, and it's a long way before any other Pokemon can learn it at all. Eventually, it'll even learn Drill Peck, which is damn strong. It even gets U-turn pretty early on. That's 3 moves out of 4 already, and I need to remind you, this is all within the first quarter of the adventure. You could go with Quick Attack for utility, Pursuit for coverage, or just Return for raw neutral power. Normally, it's kind of outclassed by other birds, but this has the advantage of accessibility. The better flying type options are just so locked down in how late you get them. Fast, strong, good moves, but frail and has a pretty useless ability. Geodude, a simple Pokemon, but that's not always a bad thing. It's about as standard as the rock ground type comes. Incredible attack and defense, but sluggish and can be defeated rather easily if there's the tiniest drop of water or so much as a leaf falling on it. It gets the best darn moves it could hope for, all without needing to buy a bunch of stuff or play some boring side mode. At low levels, we get Rock Polish to up that low speed on a free turn whenever it has a clear advantage, it'll use Rock Throw and Magnitude early on, and it gets access to the brutal Self-Destruct before it even evolves once. Probably the strongest move possible at those levels. But it naturally gets Rollout, Earthquake, and Explosion, all reasonably so too. You could go with Rock Slide or Stone Edge depending on what's wanted. I would say to make sure that it has Rock Head. Sturdy at this point in the series hasn't been buffed to basically act as a Focus Sash, so it only protects you against outright one-hit KO effect moves. It appreciates Double Edge for a little while, and it's nice to not get hit by recoil. So let's get talking about Caterpie. This is a Pokemon I feel is kind of slept on. Literally. All it has going for it is almost 100% accurate sleep powder due to compound eyes. 70 speed with almost guaranteed sleep is honestly pretty good. We can make that speed even better with a Choice Scarf, which is pretty easy to obtain this time around. It's fully evolved by level 10, and it has probably the highest stats we'll be seeing for quite a bit. But that's really all that it is. Here's the thing. Those stats suck after the early track. I guess you could teach it some bug moves and flying moves, but what the heck is it gonna do with those? A lot of them are physical, and it has 45 attack. It's good sleep, that's about all it does, but that's not bad. We can catch the Evolve Form Metapod around here. Don't do it. It only comes knowing Harden and is factually superior if caught as a Caterpie because it keeps the moves from its earlier stage. So if Caterpie is kind of slept on, its counterpart has to be good too, right? Right? Weedle, more like Weakle. And Kakuna, more like Cocktuna. I'm sorry, I don't know where I was going with that. So we got pretty amazing stats for level 10 standards, but it falls off so hard because it's just so dang frail and has so many weaknesses, and it doesn't have that sleep gimmick that Caterpie grows into. Every time I look at its move pool, I always think, oh, that would be good, and then it's immediately debunked by not being accessible in the Johto region. It's just gonna use poison and bug moves, which are pretty redundant because poison is only super effective on grass, which bug beats anyway. Then Swarm incentivizes your use of the bug type even more, making the poison type feel extra redundant. It'll buff up with agility or swords dance, and that's your lot if it can actually survive a turn of setup. Sorry, Weedle, you just suck. Speaking of you just suck, wow! Lediba, you push new ground even among bug types. It's the horrid bug flying type, so already it's bad on defense. And then we have 20 attack. The whole idea of bug Pokemon being good at low levels doesn't even apply here. It takes until level 18 to evolve. Like double the other bugs, and when it evolves, oof. That's a fully evolved Pokemon with 35 attack and 55 special attack. It has some of the lowest stats of all time. It's just not gonna do damage better than anything else. As for positives, it's kind of fast, and it has lots of special defense. The ability Swarm can be useful in the right situation since it could take a special beam pretty well. But let's say that Lediba is your favorite Pokemon. First of all, what's wrong? Second, I got it. Lediba actually learns a lot of great support moves, and when used in the right situation, it can lay those down. Reflect and Light Screen are there, so is Agility and Swords Dance. It's one of a few Pokemon to learn Baton Pass leveling up, which is the whole reason to play it. For those not in the know, this passes on buffs to the next Pokemon that you send out. Pretty interesting move that can really make or break something. If you want to get really fancy, you could breed it with Shuckle to get access to Encore so it can just lay stuff down for free. I actually had more to say about Lediba than anyone else so far. Weird. I guess sometimes you get surprised like this. At night only, Spinarak. Oh boy, another bug poison type. I guess at least the defense is better than Beedrill. What a great honor. Insomnia is a rather standout ability that has its uses. I'd say either ability has its strong points. So right away, we can breed this with Lediba and get Baton Pass in addition to its natural agility. I actually really love that Spinarak gets agility. It's a slow Pokemon that benefits, and you don't see that very often. Its Evolve Form Ariados has a signature move, Spiderweb. This prevents the foe from switching out or running away, even with use of Teleport, and it never misses. Several other Pokemon learn reskins of this move, but I wanted to bring it up because Baton Pass actually passes on the trapping effect. I didn't know that until doing research for this. Few Pokemon can ever perform this trick, and it's a damn useful trait to have later on when hunting some hard-to-get Pokemon that run away on their turn. As for attacking options, 90 attack with agility isn't all that bad. And in addition to the poison and bug moves, we got Sucker Punch and even Shadow Sneak. This thing could be a pretty decent revenge killer, or just something that sets up a lot in the right situation. I wouldn't necessarily call Spinarak good, but it can work in the right hands, and it has quite a lot of rare traits bundled into one little bug. I kinda like him. Zubat! Say hello to amazing early game stats. You'll have to put up with Zubat being weak, using moves like Leech Life and Bite, but once it crests that hill of becoming a Golbat, it'll become a Crobat in no time flat, and it looks more like this. It's faster than anything you'll be battling for a couple dozen hours, has solid defensive typing to make up for its middling stats, and can use that amazing speed to taunt and prevent enemies from setting up. The drawbacks are not having any access to its best moves, so it'll just use Cross Poison, Air Slash, U-Turn, those kind of things. I would advise picking this if you want a poison type, and not really if you want a flying type. It doesn't really do the job of a flying Pokemon all that well. Oh boy, Dunsparce is another bad Pokemon that I happen to love. Think of any good move. Like, any good move. Dunsparce learns it. I guarantee you. Seriously, run this experiment and I assure you, it will learn whatever good move you're thinking of right now. It has one of the largest move pools of any Pokemon, learning all sorts of physical, special, and status moves alike. Its ability Serene Grace doubles the chances of Flamethrower burning, of Rock Slide flinching, of Body Slam paralyzing, Ice Beam freezing, and so much more. Now, I did say that Dunsparce is a bad Pokemon. It's one of those would-be incredible Pokemon that's just stuck with bad stats because it never evolves, and thus it falls off a lot after the very beginning. It's also just plain excruciating to find in the wild at a 1% chance. There's a better chance to find them later, but that's just it. You're probably not gonna want one later because it's only really super good around this point. It's only worth using if you're determined to make it work or if you just get lucky and find one now. Dunsparce, I love you. You're the victim of circumstance. You try so hard. You deserve your happy ending with Virizion. Bellsprout. Here's a Pokemon that does one thing and does it amazingly. Chlorophyll doubles speed to 140, and those mixed attacking stats are to die for. Literally. And that's just if you want to attack. The speed makes it one of the best sleep powders, and it could use Swords Dance once it lays down the sleep. Due to its mixed attacking, we could toss Leaf Storm in there for a nuke without hurting its physical strength. You'll probably need someone else to bring down the sun, but if you got the team for it, Bellsprout's pretty dangerous. It has two big weaknesses. The first is fire. It can do nothing to it, and it's cooked if you have the sun out because that also increases fire damage. The second is being a grass type in the Johto region, a problem that I sympathize with greatly. I feel like we all use Mareep because electric just fits in so nicely with any starter Pokemon. It deals with flying types for the grass, deals with water types for both water and fire. I mean, come on, you used it. I know I sure did. So right away, this is a Pokemon with some utility. With its ability Static, it can find other electric types in the wild easily. Some of them are rare, so that can save you a lot of time. It's not necessary to hatch this egg, as we can already catch Mareep in the wild, as you'll see pretty soon. Mareep is a non-standard electric type. It's really more of a tank or a wall breaker when its kin are usually known for being fast. That ability together with its defenses means that it can switch in pretty well. Should it happen to paralyze the enemy, it can outrun plenty too. This is one of the best Thunderbolts you will ever find. That's an attractive selling point in and of itself, but it can also learn Focus Blast and Light Screen right at the beginning of the dang game. Just give it those two attacking moves, some supporting moves, and you'll get along just fine. Wooper only has one weakness, and that's grass, and it has the ability Water Absorb. Wooper makes a fine switch in against lots and lots of different Pokemon, and it's pretty stally in the stats department too. You could run Surf on another Pokemon to stall it with it in doubles, though this doesn't come up terribly often. There's not exactly a lot of double battles in this region. It attacks with ground, water, and ice, though notably it's got pretty poor special attack and it won't do these jobs as well as other Pokemon. I'd say consider it if you want Earthquake at a low level, because that's the most exciting thing about it. Slug my balls. Another Pokemon with utility. Thanks to Flame Body and Magma Armor, it will cause eggs to hatch in half the amount of time regardless of which ability it has. I'd recommend hatching this egg ASAP, as this is the only Slugma that you're gonna find for like 75% of the adventure. On the battlefield, well, it's not great. Fire Rock is a sadly exploitable type by almost all Pokemon, and it's so slow that it'll likely go its whole life without going first a single time in a battle. God, that sounds so sad. While it isn't a great number of weaknesses, it's just a shame to be quad weak to both water and ground and have barely any health. Unlike most other Slowpokes, it just doesn't hit for much damage back. With an attack stat that maxes out at a paltry 50, it isn't a good rock slider at all. Its best rock option is, get this, Hidden Power. Hidden Power, if you don't know, is a move that is different depending on the IVs of a Pokemon, meaning that every Pokemon will get a different type and power of it, and that is the strongest special rock move that it gets. If you aren't lucky enough to roll the dice on a rock type Hidden Power, which by the way, these IVs are generated when the egg is given to you, so you'll be resetting a lot of time to do that, your best option is Ancient Power. I'd say to run support moves on it like Reflect. It's super lacking there too, not able to get Toxic or Will-O-Wisp in, frankly, any reasonable amount of time. So, still not great. You'll probably want Flame Body for combat if you plan on seriously using it, but yeah, It's good for hatching eggs. It's a bad type with bad stats and no moves. Really just hatch eggs with this one. It's more useful in the nursery than the war. Every in-game trade comes with a held item, a predetermined ability, and a predetermined nature that is usually beneficial. And it will have one IV that is 25 out of 31, with the rest being 20 and 15. In this case, we got 2 good IVs, HP and defense, so in-game trades are quite good members of their species. Then you learn that they gain 1.5 times experience in any battle if they're traded in, and they become some of the outright best. So, should you use Onix? If you got Chikorita, yeah, probably. Onix has amazing stats for this point, easily outspeeding anything that comes its way, and it's basically a win button against the Violet Gym. Long term, not as much. First off, you need to trade to evolve this specific one, and that's a strike for some players if you don't have any friends with this game. Sorry, HeartGold to Silver goes for like 200 bucks nowadays, so not too likely. If it's workable, it becomes a steel type, and you get impenetrable defense with a ton of resistances at the cost of the good speed going to the dogs. And that's frankly it. If it can't evolve, it's kind of a joke when it comes to moves. Basically any half-decent move you can think of is either completely roped off until the very end. I'd recommend sticking with it only if you got someone to trade with. And you get access to one of the best Iron Tails around and some boosting moves that are easy to set up when it's got so many resistances. Ekans! Ekans is a letdown due to its poor stats, but it isn't without merits. Intimidate combined with being poison type means that it can check lots of Pokemon on a switch in, or it can make a particularly big threat less scary to deal with for the rest of your team. Against any Pokemon that can't do much to poison, it could paralyze with Glare or poison them with any of its numerous other moves. Now, Glare is nowhere near as good as Thunder Wave, but it's all we got. It'll just use poison and dark moves otherwise, eventually landing on Gunk Shot and Crunch. It's fine, I like a number of things about it, it's just not lighting the world on fire. Hoppip goes fast easily to lay down status and support. That about covers it. It has non-existent strength to attack with, even if Grass Flying looks like it would be offensively strong. It gets Sleep Powder and Stun Spore right away, and that's all we wanted to hear. I'd recommend U-Turn as its main attacking move, as it's so fast and that move is meant for chip damage anyhow. For the 4th move, I don't know, probably some Grass or Flying attack, maybe Substitute or Leech Seed. It just doesn't get access to much else besides those. Hoppip learns Reflect by breeding with Chikorita, but that's already a Grass-type Pokemon that you've chosen. This is a utility Pokemon for sure that doesn't really do much else. Unknown. Oh boy, Unknown! Not gonna lie, actually kinda slept on. That's a hear me out if I've ever heard one. Don't get me wrong, no stat over 72, and it can only use the move Hidden Power. Hidden Power, once again, is a move with a random type and a random power up to 70 based on the individual Pokemon using it. But honestly, for the now, if you've got a Psychic type Hidden Power and went with it, it would probably blow away anything for a good little while, and there's almost no dark Pokemon for a long, long time. If you just need a nice neutral move to get you farther onto the road to whatever you actually want to use, then go for it. This is probably the best appearance Unknown has ever had due to showing up so early, but trust me, it becomes a useless lump after a few gyms, so don't go relying on this. Ghastly! S tier. Frickin' S tier. Ghastly might as well have near legendary stats for when it's caught. It outspeeds anything that's gonna be available to you for like 3 towns, and is only held back by having Lick and Nightshade to attack. Nightshade, if you don't know, is fixed damage to the user's level, and it will hit harder than Lick does. But we're also very low level, so that's not exactly great. Ghastly makes up for this lack of power with Hypnosis. Yeah, high speed and Hypnosis is a dangerous combo, and better than most all of those weak little bugs that try to put stuff to sleep themselves. Plus, a lot of early game Pokemon are either resisted by Ghastly or immunized by Ghastly. That extends into Pokemon a lot of the bosses use too. Give it some time, and as long as you can trade it to fully evolve it, you can get your max stats at level 25. If you thought it was ahead of the curve now, oh, you have no idea how terrifying Gengar can be. We're talking high speed with both power and utility, actually pretty decent switch-in-ness thanks to having 3 immunities. Shadow Ball is easily taught, and there's that easily gotten Thunder TM that I keep mentioning that you can give to it. Don't lie, you thought of it flopping its tongue in Pokemon Stadium when I mentioned it using Thunder. You can see it too. Now, that isn't to say that Gengar is perfect. A lot of those moves I mentioned do have poor accuracy. Will-O-Wisp is off limits to us in this adventure, and in the event that Gengar actually takes damage, it won't exactly stand up against much. It requires a bit of luck to really get it working, but is able to get so much done if it can. Meanlook gets an honorable mention because stopping wild Pokemon from fleeing is somewhat desirable in Johto. Could be good for that. Togepi. First thing, check to see if it has Serene Grace. That is Togepi's main draw. It knows tons of moves with secondary effects, and this doubles their chances. In fact, this one hatches knowing extra sensory for a double flinch chance, and that move is downright overpowered right now. That's fine and all, but eventually Togepi will become a flying type and want to drop that move for Air Slash. Besides that, we can give it Fire Blast surprisingly early on, or even Shadow Ball, which benefit from that wondrous ability. Now here's the rub. Togepi pays off a lot in the end, but is kinda hard to raise. It's pretty low on stats and move power for a while, and evolving into Togekiss takes an eternity due to the item it requires being so hard to come by. Oh my god. Your stats are going to look more like this for 90% of the journey. In the interim, don't underestimate Charm. Lowering your opponent's attack stat twice is indispensable when you can freely use items to heal, and I'd recommend it to make things less miserable. What's even better is Yawn, a sleep move with 100% accuracy but is delayed by 1 turn. This shuts down a lot of Pokemon because the AI almost never switches. So wow! We get to think about how this would work as a level 1 Pokemon. All 3 of these Pokemon that can be obtained this way had their learn sets adjusted so they get every move in about 40 levels, as opposed to it formerly taking 80. It's nice that we can actually use them from this point, and they don't feel worthless at low levels before they learn any of their moves. Dialga is a wall, and a wall breaker. With high speed for a tank, it'll move before any other tank and blow them away. This is the only Steel Dragon Pokemon, a near perfect combination that neutralizes would-be weaknesses to Ice and Dragon, and it resists more than half the dang type chart. One could go all in on special moves, hitting basically everything for at least neutral damage, or could go mixed using that brutal 120 attack and saving the special stat for a Draco Meteor. Dialga always comes holding an Adamant Orb, a unique item that raises Dialga's Dragon and Steel moves by 20%. Dialga would fit in well on any team, barely having any weakness. Alternatively, Palkia always comes holding the Lustrous Orb, raising Palkia's Dragon and Water moves. In a word, yes. This is what you want as your held item for the road ahead. Palkia starts using Dragon Breath and Water Pulse, then goes quite a while without replacing either of those moves. Surf is going to be its main attack as a result when you can get that. See, Palkia is normally the best special attacker there is, but due to the TMs around it and the low level, it just doesn't quite live up to its full potential. It's not bad or anything, no. It's just so many of its level up moves end up being physical for whatever reason. Its type is Stellar though. Not Stellar type, you know what I mean. It's only weak to Dragon, quad resist Water and Fire, and you can easily buy a Thunder TM for it quite soon to hard counter other Water types. That's what it is, the best Surf in the game and a counter to other Water Pokemon. Later on, it's the best Draco Meteor. Choose it if you want raw, unadulterated power. Giratina. An unbreakable wall or an unstoppable attacker. Your choice. Normally, Giratina is a beast to bring down, immune to the normal and fighting types with a gaggle of resistances. Pressure is a surprisingly useful ability on it, able to stall out opponents while it just heals itself over and over again. Selecting Giratina is the only way to obtain a Griseous Orb, a priceless item that raises the power of Giratina's Dragon and Ghost moves, just like the other two, but it also turns it into its origin form, flipping its offensive and defensive stats, and changing its ability into the incredibly useful Levitate. That brings me to my point with these two. Base form Giratina isn't bad at doing damage, and origin form isn't bad on defense either. You still keep the high HP and gain an immunity to ground and spikes when transforming. You're not sacrificing much to take that form. Something I particularly like about Giratina at a low level is that it learns Shadow Sneak pretty early on. Not that it'll struggle to outspeed much of anything, given that it's, you know, a legendary Pokemon, but it could come in useful as the foes get a little bit speedier. Giratina gets to enjoy learning Thunder and Shadow Ball early on, and can get Draco Meteor and Earthquake later. Fulfill whichever role you'd like. Tentacool. This thing is a joke. Until like level 20, that is. You're stuck with crap like Poison Sting and Constrict for a little while, which are some of the worst moves ever. Then it gets better with Bubble Beam. It's just so weak to start out that it'll make you hate Tentacool. And that's a shame because it's surprisingly competent for such a common Pokemon. It's a special tank, has good type interactions due to both water and poison being reliable defensively, and it can do some damage too. I'd probably recommend waiting until some higher levels to get this one because there's so many opportunities to catch Tentacool that there isn't much reason to raise it from such a pitiful level. Its special bulk is just so good and it's compatible with Ice Beam, so I'd recommend it for taking out dragons. When Magikarp is terrible, you must skip it. Seriously. There's no reason to catch a Magikarp outside of self-imposed challenge. There's a chance to catch Gyarados, and they don't even take that long to show up. Magikarp can only learn Splash and Tackle. Splash does absolutely nothing, you all know that one, and it's the only move until level 15. It doesn't even get better either. It has 10 attack. 10. The Pokedex says it all in-game. An underpowered, pathetic Pokemon. Poliwag! This Pokemon can go one of two ways. Option number one is an all-arounder called Poliwrath. It's a water fighting type and wants to use physical moves. When choosing Poliwrath, your best bet is probably Belly Drum, a move that maxes out your attack in return for half of your max HP. Poliwrath can use its fighting moves to actually fight back against other water types and then wall them with Water Absorb. Downright beastly, but risky. If that doesn't sound appealing, my personal favorite option is Politoed. With Politoed, you can have the same abilities and same speed with a pure water type and better special damage. Additionally, Politoed gets the exclusive Perish Song, a move that causes both Pokemon to faint in 3 turns, and it's a win button against an opponent that can't switch out or is on their last Pokemon. Downside is, it's on a trade route, as in, you need to trade to go that route. You could learn into special water and ice moves and teach it Psychic. Should Politoed just not work out for you, it can still use Belly Drum, it just won't hit quite as hard as the Wrath. Make sure the Wag is Water Absorb, as it's the best ability for both forms. Should you not need a water type urgently, then it's fine to catch Poliwag later on. Sandshrew, Scratch and Poison Sting. That's all you got until level 20-ish. It's over if it gets hit by water and grass, and it's so slow for life. I wish Sandshrew was good. I've always thought he's cute and cool at the same time. You just don't get any rock or ground moves of any merit other than Rock Tomb. This is the kind of Pokemon that I wish made up for its bad stats by learning Earthquake or Rock Slide at some decent level like a lot of other rock ground types, but it doesn't get either of them without TMs at all. Geodude is better on offense, Onix is better on defense, and this one's just kinda in the middle. Goldeen, a physically oriented water type, but an example of how unique does not necessarily equal good. It takes much too long to get a physical water move. Basically all of its reasonable attacks are special, and it's extremely outclassed at casting them. You'll prefer Water Pulse and Ice Beam on the majority of other Pokemon. The most exciting thing about it over other water types are Agility and Mega Horn, but those are the final 2 level moves that it gets. Even with Agility or Swift Swim, it's not hard hitting enough to be called a sweeper. If you just gotta catch it, enjoy Peck in return. That's what you're gonna be using. Real quick before we begin today, there was one more Pokemon that could be caught using the Olderod that I missed. In Cherry Grove City, Krabby. It's starting to seem like a rule that anything with great stats just doesn't get the moves. It's supposed to take on physical hits, it's supposed to use Swords Dance, and it's supposed to slam them back. It's just that all of its physical moves are awful. Crabhammer is learned at such a high level that I can't really consider it much of a benefit, so its best moves for the bulk of the adventure end up being Dig and frickin' Rock Tomb. It doesn't even learn Waterfall, and it's peanuts at using any special move. Compared to the abundance of brawny water types, or even just decent water types, there's not much reason to pick it. It's such a shame, I'm usually kind of a Krabby defender. You're a Slowpoke. Here's a Pokemon I think is kind of underrated. It's right in the name. One of the slowest Pokemon, quite defensive, but it can swing back hard when it does become its turn. If there's another drawback, it has a lot of weaknesses compared to its contemporary tanks. We got 2 near identical choices between Slowbro and Slowking for evolutions, only swapping their defense and special defense stats, and each having a move or two that the other doesn't get. For me, Slowking is the blatant choice due to having Nasty Plot over Slowbro, able to buff its special attack stat twice in one turn, and it takes even less levels to reach the move Psychic. Hardly anything will learn Psychic through level up on this adventure, so that's a definite positive. Fill it out with a water move and one of the many options it has for coverage, and you got yourself a winner, even if it's not exactly gonna go first much. Water types have a pretty easy time setting up on other water types, so that's your chance to take advantage of its awesome power. After 50 watts, we can go to the rugged road and catch Magby. Always comes knowing Sunny Day if that's desired. The problem with Magby is its level 30 evolution requirement and the fact that we can catch wild Magmars before we will ever hit those levels. So, kind of a rough early life and a rough late life too. The item that evolves Magmar into Magmortar isn't until the very last parts of our travels, so it's gonna look like this for most of the way. Now, is that bad? Not so much actually. There's barely any fire type options. We can toss Fire Blast and Focus Blast onto it quite early, and it burns almost as bright as Typhlosion. That's just about where it ends though. When looking at other moves, it's just stuff like Confuse Ray. It breathes fire well, but that's about it. After 500 watts, we unlock Suburban Area. This is where you should grab Elekid. We can't get this family anywhere else for much too long, and this one comes with Low Kick and Thunder Punch. I'd probably swap out Thunder Punch for Thunderbolt once the chance presents itself, as the former is pretty lacking in power. It'll get Light Screen, and it's certainly a quick Pokemon for laying it down, where it just shocks things and uses a fighting move, and that's about it. Like with Magby, the Electrizer isn't until practically the final boss fight, so it's an Electabuzz until it's near retirement age. If you're looking for a speedier Electric type than Mareep, here's looking at you, Elekid. If you have access to the event area at Amity Meadow, you can very rarely get Electrizers and Magmarizers after walking at least 25-50 steps. It's just super unlikely to happen. After 1,000 watts, Dim Cave, Smoochum. So normally Smoochum is about using Psychic and Ice moves with some oomph to effectively deal with most foes. That said, Smoochum is quite unfortunate this time around. It's just Ice moves and no Psychic. It's half finished. That isn't to say Smoochum is worthless, far from. It outspeeds and it one-shots most powerful dragons that you'll be facing later on, and we're going to get the TM for Ice Beam pretty soon. It has purpose, it just falls short of its potential. After 2,000 watts, we unlock Blue Lake, which is notable for being the easiest way to get Dratini. I know this one from experience. It's a really good Pokemon in the final battle and in the final battle only. It evolves just too late to get any other chance to shine. For sticking it out, you will eventually learn Dragon Dance, and you can teach Fire and Thunder Punch through Heart Scale. Draco Meteor is your only good dragon move. Outrage is just plain sad, learned at level 64, which you'll probably finish the game without reaching. Now, if you can put up with it, it is legit for the whole 10 minutes that it spends as a Dragonite at the end of the game. It tears it up with 134 attack and good stats across the board. I just feel like it's better to get a Pokemon in that slot that contributes something for the other 99% of the game that we still have left. Still gotta have it. Well, there's a Dratini later on that has an excellent unique attack that I'd recommend waiting for, so probably not today. The only use case I can see for Dratini is that it has Thunder Wave from the start, so it could help you with catching Pokemon. Oddish, a split evolution. On one path, we have Vileplume with its special attack and poison type. And on the other, Blossom with a pure grass type and special defense. Both have chlorophyll, are pretty fast if they can activate it, and specialize in spamming Solar Beam and Sleep Powder. Of the two, I'd probably go with Vileplume because of its higher power and because Blossom is not gonna capitalize on its somewhat defensive approach while being a pure grass type. That's also sort of the problem with Vileplume. Let's be honest. Speaking as a bona fide Chikorita fan, grass types don't do anything in this game. And Paris, 6 weaknesses that everyone carries, pitiful speed and pathetic power. In return, it has exactly one thing going for it, Spore, the only truly 100% accurate sleep move. Now, that means that it's gotta take a hit before getting to use it, but if it can, it sets you up to switch out and get a free win against something dangerous. Like, say, the ace of the Goldenrod gym, who relies a lot on having consecutive turns. When I say its attacks were meaningless, I really meant it. I didn't even say they were meaningless, but trust me, I meant it. It gets Scratch, Leech Life, and Slash until it's like level 40. Even from a TM perspective, Paris is impressively lacking and feels like they relegated every single one of them to endgame just to spite it. But yes, I suppose it does do one thing well. I was gonna say we can counter Butterfree and Beedrill, but I don't really feel the need to discuss these Pokemon further. I already said everything that I had to say about them when we met Metapod and Kakuna, so there will be some evolved forms of previous Pokemon that I have new things to say about, but it won't be happening each and every time. I should really catch this. So yeah. So I'll just kind of be choosing to say everything need to know up front, ignoring redundant explanations. Speaking of, Noctowl right here is a new encounter. You're weak, I might as well catch you right now. So, I'd like to bring up that many normal types, Noctowl in particular, is a strong anti-ghost Pokemon, and that's pretty useful coming up, so I just thought I'd let you know about that. Besides that, we got, well, there's another new Pokemon here in the Ilex Forest. Pineco! This is strictly a wall. Bug Steel is one of the best defensive types, resisting darn near everything and being neutral to ground. That 90 attack looks pretty good, but it's just lacking in the moves department. It uses Bug Bite and Payback. Its usual Toxic and Gyro Ball are unrealistic in this adventure, and in competitive, it's known for specializing in entry hazards by laying them down or rapid spinning them away, both of which aren't going to help much against normie trainers. In fact, the lack of Toxic hurts a lot of would-be good defensive Pokemon in this one. I suppose you could use your only Earthquake TM on it to make it do literally anything else, but you only get one of them, and I'd rather just use it on something else. Aipom! Say hello to a win button against the Ecruteak Gym, but kinda weak outside of that. It's a normal type with Technician, and outside of Technician, it's probably going to end up using Shadow Claw, which is just barely too strong to benefit from that ability. I'd probably recommend breeding to get Fake Out on it if you're gonna do anything with it. It's pretty powerful for the time being, and it gets loads more speed once it evolves, but once the foes are no longer babies, it falls off quite a bit. And more rare than that, we got Heracross. Gen 4 Heracross is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. You get this, you're gonna win. That attack stat far outclasses anything until the League, and we're only on the second badge. We get to practically start with Aerial Ace and Brick Break. A big problem so many Pokemon have in HeartGold to Silver is just never getting access to their strongest moves. Not so with Heracross. We can grab Close Combat at a reasonable level. We can get Mega Horn. We can even tutor Night Slash onto it. It's as strong here as it is on any competitive team. I'd suggest Guts, but it's not even the end of the world if it has Swarm. It's really pretty easy to get into low health so that you can do that. Execute. Execute is actually early in Johto, which means it's the only time that Barrage ever meant something. It's just bad as it's just a bad 2 to 5 hit normal move that I wouldn't even recommend using anyway, but I wanted to bring it up because you never see it. Now on to Execute. Is it spongy or scummy? If you know, you know. We, in fact, got a slow Pokemon that hits for a lot of damage and has Sleep Powder, Reflect, and Light Screen. Now, when I say a lot of damage, I'm speaking relatively. It just takes way too long for it to get half-decent moves for either of its types. We're talking late 40s for Psychic, and that's only if it stays in Execute for that long. Evolving into Exeggutor, it never can learn Psychic for free, but it nabs Leaf Storm instead. That said, we're soon going to be able to buy Leaf Stones, and even with lacking moves, it's certainly more than competent for a while. It'll just have an awkward phase where it kind of falls behind, and then pick up steam again in the endgame when it finally gets Psychic. Like so many others, it's okay, but short of its potential. Abra. Don't catch it. We'll be giving this a proper go-over soon. You just want to wait until we get to the next town. Drowsy. Kinda sloppy, not gonna lie. Uses Psybeam and later Psychic, though not as well as Abra does. It can start with Hypnosis, something that Abra never gets, but it's only 60% accurate due to taking place after the nerf. I'm finding it rough to really say much about Drowsy. I guess I'd recommend it for the support role. It has staying power and it can learn the screen moves. Ditto. A cool idea in theory. Ditto has only one move, Transform, which copies all of their opponent's stats with the exception of HP, copies their type, and all of their moves with 5 PP. It doesn't copy HP, and Ditto is quite literally made of molasses, so it's likely to take damage on turn 1, and then get into a speed tie on turn 2. It's an outright worse version of the opponent that's also behind by an entire turn in a game where every turn is so impactful to the outcome of a fight. And like, that's assuming that you sent it out for free after one of your own Pokemon got KO'd or you led with it. And even then, the opponent might not have a move that's even good against itself for you to use against it. Ditto has a signature item to boost its defense by 50%, the Metal Powder. Really, you're better off going with an HP recovery item because who can say it won't fight a special attacker in any given situation? It has another signature item called the Quick Powder to boost its speed, but it only functions while it's still a Ditto, so that kind of defeats the whole point of revenge killing with it. In all, quite disappointing compared to how cool it sounds, but I just kind of like it anyway. It can be fun. Oh yeah, you probably care about Ditto for another reason entirely. In breeding, Ditto can breed with almost anything else, and it's wonderful. If you just need to get more of a specific species of Pokemon, Ditto is basically just a freebie to breed with anything. Machop comes with a Macho Brace as its held item. Its good IV is in attack. The Goldenrod Gym is normal type, and while I'd much rather use my Geodude, Machop is a fine option for it if you have nothing else. Both because it's super effective on normal and because it resists rock moves, which is something that you definitely want for that gym. The main draw of Machop family is No Guard for teaching it low accuracy, high power moves that will never miss, and it gets several of those. This one, however, is stuck with Guts, and we don't have convenient ways to status our own Pokemon this time around. This Machop, however, is always female, meaning that you can breed it to get a Machop with No Guard. Alternatively, you can get a Machop like that through the Pokewalker. Guts is so tricky to work with in this one because there just aren't convenient ways to status your own Pokemon. You'd have to go like Karate Chop a Weedle to poison it and then just keep using potions on it over and over again and not using the Pokemon Center. It's just annoying. Abra has incredible stats that can only use Teleport. Well, for a few levels anyway. This guy is a real sleeper hit. Challenge your patience and you'll be rewarded with majestic power. Even if you don't find a trade partner to max it out as an Alakazam, it still has better stats and moves than most of the Psychic-type competition as a Kadabra. I'd still lightly recommend it even if you can't fully evolve. If you can trade it though, look at those stats for level 16. It's not quite the level 5 Palkia experience, but man is it darn close. We get Confusion, Psybeam, and Psychic in a world where such things are usually forbidden. Focus Blast is a shining coverage move that we just gained the ability to buy. There's Shadow Ball coming right up, and it's just so good. Now this is a Psychic type that does its thing and isn't held back by all the good items being too far away. Normally a 1%, but you can wait for a Swarm to make that chance much higher. Yanma is worthless, so let's talk about Yanmega instead. You'll be able to evolve it starting at level 34, and when you do, it's got sublime special attack with good speed at the cost of being made of wet newspaper when it gets hit. Of the two abilities, Speed Boost is too good to ignore. I used to play this in competitive Gen 4, leading with it, using Protect, and getting a Speed Boost every time. Then I'd follow up with Air Slash that would probably flinch, Bug Buzz for neutral damage, and U-Turn for when I needed to get the hell out of dodge. Sadly, that's out the window. Air Slash and Bug Buzz are its final 2 level moves. Your best bet is frickin' Silverwind from the Goldenrod department store raffle. I'm grasping here, but you could go for Shadow Ball. Yeah, sorry, it won't even have 4 decent moves until the very end, if at all. Bug Flying comes with a lot of downsides, and the upsides that it would have are victims of level requirements, all being one of the hardest Pokemon to even find. If you do get lucky though, it's pretty dang fast, and maybe that's what you want. We can get swarms of Quillfish on Route 32. Do note that the Old Rod cannot find Quillfish any other way. Quillfish is just kind of weak. It's lacking in firepower, or water power. I mean, I guess in Earthbound, like, fire moves are considered like water, and whatever. Locking itself into physical moves basically means that it has to rely on Waterfall, which we won't be able to learn for a long time. And basically, it doesn't get poison moves because it's stuck with the meek Poison Sting until practically the end of the damn game. It has one thing going for it that's unusual for a water type: Explosion. But that's also locked behind a TM that is much too late to consider a benefit for sticking with it. If you want a water poison type that doesn't hate its own move pool, just go with Tentacool. Nidoran Male evolves into the king of versatility. It's to the point where I would guarantee it can find something to do on your team. Poison Ground is big on defense, being immune to electric, resisting plenty else, unable to be poisoned or stunned with Thunder Wave. It has no poor stats and can claim those stats right away thanks to such forgiving evolution conditions. Poison Point can help when you least expect it, and the moves for it are simply to die for. It's decorated with Ice Beam, Blizzard, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Shadow Ball, Earthquake, Dragon Pulse, and that's just before the league. Heck, if you want to get real crazy, it's easy to breed Sucker Punch onto it from help with a male Rattata. But wait, I hear you say, you can't breed male to male. Well, let's get into the next Pokemon to explain it. Nidoran female, a Pokemon so similar it's almost interchangeable with Nidoran male. The only real difference is this one takes a hit in the offense in exchange for more defense. There was kind of this thing early on where male Pokemon always had higher attack stats than female Pokemon, so gender isn't tied to stats anymore, but it's kind of a relic of that time. This comes out to it being less useful in the male version because a lot of would-be defensive Pokemon just can't get toxic and stuff like that. When breeding a Nidoran female, the egg will contain either form of Nidoran just fine. However, bizarrely, the evolved forms Nidorina and Nidoqueen cannot breed under any circumstance. I wondered what was up with this for years because this is the case in every Pokemon game, but in an official Pokemon lore book published in 1996 titled Pocket Monsters Zukon, it states that Nidorina, upon evolution, becomes infertile. So, even before breeding was a mechanic, this was intended lore for the species. It makes sense that mammalian Pokemon would have menopause within their life cycles, and it would affect some earlier than others, so I just kind of thought I'd bring that up because I thought it was really interesting and realistic. HeartGold only. Vulpix. Sorry, Vulpix. I love Vulpix so much. This marks the point where fire types options start pouring in. If I had to give Ninetales a word, it's unique. The stats might look like a speedy tank, and yeah, I suppose it can be, but it's really more of a setup attack. By breeding it with a male Stantler, we'll get to that in a second, we can get Hypnosis onto it. With Heart Scales, we'll be capable of teaching Nasty Plot. It uses those two moves to set up and sweeps on through, or it switches in at a smart time to trigger its ability. Beyond that, Dark Pulse is your lot for coverage. That's Vulpix. A few really interesting moves, but not much else of note. And the counterpart in SoulSilver only, Growlithe. No unfortunate stats, two good abilities. I probably go for Intimidate in almost all cases. It's too good to ignore, and it makes it artificially bulky. It looks like a slam dunk, but yep, it falls short of its potential. See, it's a mixed attacker, that's fine. It gets Flare Blitz, that's great. But to get there, you'll need 48 levels without evolving. You're flipping some Voltorbs for Flamethrower, and that'll remain its best move. Extreme Speed's fun, and Thunderfang is there through the move reminder. It's fast, it's strong, it has fine moves, it just lacks its best tool. Stantler! Said we'd get there in a moment. Sorry to keep you waiting. The word unique loses its effect if I describe two Pokemon with it in the same segment, but you know what I mean. Stantler's stats are fair, and it may seem unbulky, but Intimidate helps out with that. Because of that, you can reliably use a Hypnosis, and it's not half bad at doing damage, but it just kinda does Return and Zen Headbutt, then it gets some special moves like Thunderbolt. I outright wouldn't recommend using up my Earthquake TM on Stantler, and the other would-be good selling points like Mega Horn and Sucker Punch are off limits. It's a shame. I feel like its good move pool is its biggest boon, yet it's just not there. Pidgeotto. It's nowhere close to as good as Noctowl, it's nowhere close to as good as Fearow, or even Raticate. Nothing has changed about this Pokemon whatsoever. Meowth. Purely outclassed. I want to compare this little kitty to Aipom because it's kind of ridiculous just how much Aipom is a better Meowth. Aipom is a normal type with far higher stats in every area except just barely special attack. Both of them use normal type moves, both of them use a lot of the same moves actually, except Aipom eventually gets Technician to make better use of some of those lower power moves. Basically anything Persian would have going for it, like Night Slash, is at too high of a level to really count for much. And that's all to say nothing for all the other normal types on the same route. Let's get into those. Tauros, a powerhouse, or a porterhouse. It charges fast and tears through targets. Intimidate, you know it. It's a priceless ability, giving utility against something that it isn't even equipped to fight. But you won't have that problem for a long time. Its stats are blasphemous compared to all the regular trainers around here, and it just cuts through the next several hours of game time like butter. Toss a strong normal move onto it. Give it Pursuit or Zen Headbutt for coverage, then maybe consider teaching it Earthquake when the time comes. Its biggest drawback is that it isn't especially useful in the toughest of battles in this one, but it's still reliable enough to be called good. Miltank! The cow is mightier than the bull. She can make the bull do anything she wants, because she's red and all, yeah. As if you got this far without realizing how powerful Miltank is. It's got bullish stats for this point, and it continues to be useful with its 100 speed and good bulk. It's just got great all-around stats. The problem isn't so much with its moves. Those are great, it learns so much. It's the teeny special attack stat when so many of those moves are special. I'd only slap moves like Thunderbolt or Ice Beam onto it if it were fighting a quad-effective matchup and you just had no better option. But really, you'll be fine with Rollout or Body Slam or Zen Headbutt. It's just plain good. Farfetch'd. Normally, I'd call Farfetch'd a bad Pokemon with bad stats, and yep, it pretty much is. No stat over 65, never evolves. In order to compete with most basic Pokemon, it pretty much requires Swords Dance. If it has any use at all, it's that it gets Aerial Ace at a low level, and we have an upcoming gym battle that involves fighting types that spam Double Team. It might just carry you through that battle, but really, Fearow does that too. Magnemite, the easiest electric type to include on a team. Magnemite has the most resistances of all Pokemon, and can make a lot of fights free just on virtue of many Pokemon being unable to threaten it. You'll have to win a Thunderbolt TM at the games, because otherwise all it gets is Discharge. Later on, it gets Mirror Shot, making it a rare electric type that can dispatch rocks. Magnemite has one major drawback. It can never become a Magnezone ever due to there being no magnetic mountain for it to level up in across the entire land. Maybe you're willing to trade it to Sinnoh to fix this, but I consider that a barrier of entry that most will not be willing to do. Magneton still hits hard and takes damage well thanks to its type, but it is something to be aware of that it can't become as powerful as it might seem. And last up, 1% of the time, unless you get a swarm, is Snubbull. This is a bit of a tricky Pokemon to recommend. It's difficult to find for one, and we've been seeing other normal types like Tauros and Stantler that also have Intimidate. The other thing is that a lot of Snubbull's moves are just kind of lacking in power, where it'll use things like the Elemental Fangs, and it's pretty slow compared to the competition. It hits harder than Tauros, but I think honestly you're gonna be more concerned about speed and moves, which Tauros easily wins in. It's not a horrible Pokemon, it's just an outclassed Pokemon by the very things that are catchable around it, or even sooner than it. Oh boy, Sunkern. Sunkern is right. This Pokemon exists to be used under the hot sun. It has Chlorophyll, Solar Beam activates in one turn under harsh sunlight, and Synthesis recovers half health with it. You're probably thinking that the move Growth is buffed in it, but this is one game before that buff happened. I thought this time I'd start with the moves because I always tell you that Sunkern has the worst stats of any Pokemon first, and I wanted to lighten up the mood a little bit this time. It can evolve straight away if one is to win the bug catching contest and get the Sunstone. Most grass types specialize in sleep, but this one is stuck with Grass Whistle, something I wouldn't know anything about. Sunkern's main purpose is not in battle, but in being the ultimate at the Pokeathlon, so that it can win you items that you want to give to other Pokemon. Definitely catch this if there's anything you want there. Venonat. Plainly average. Its stats are just fine, nothing about it is terribly exciting. There's been plenty of other bugs, and there will be plenty of other bugs that do similar things. It takes a bit to awaken Sleep Powder within it, and it mainly uses psychic moves to attack. Other than Sludge Bomb, it's got a big fat 0 in the TM compatibility department. And offensively, Poison is pretty redundant with Bug anyway. Though it has one thing going for it. Tinted Lens. This turns quarter damage moves into half damage, and half damage moves into normal damage. It makes it able to hit somewhat reliably against most anyone. Oh, and it's always kind of hit me the wrong way that Venomoth is hit for normal damage by ground. Just annoying. But yeah, I think it's all right. Scyther! Now here's a fun Pokemon. We got two ways we can raise this, and I would say both are valid. Scyther and its evolved form Scizor. Both have the same stat total, meaning that they are both respectable. Scyther can use Wing Attack well thanks to Technician and shreds through fighting types as a result, while Scizor's defenses are among the toughest around. I'd recommend either evolving ASAP because it gets Metal Claw at level 21, or waiting until you reach Blackthorn City where you can reteach moves. Of course I'm gonna tell you to grab Swords Dance when it can set up against so many Pokemon with all those resistances. It's an easy pick for multiple reasons. The Metal Coat is already available at the Pokeathlon on Fridays, or it can be stolen from wild Pokemon just around the corner. If you ever see a Magnemite, try using Thief on it. Pinsir. Pinsir is niche. It learns a bunch of fighting moves, then X-Scissor, and that's about it. You'll always have to use your one Earthquake TM to do better than that. Don't underestimate him though, I still like it. Pinsir is good at those things. Mold Breaker makes him able to hit levitating Pokemon with Earthquake. And the physical prowess on this guy is awesome. We could and should buy Swords Dance and Goldenrod for it. It's just not very fast and has no hope against anything with a good special move. Plus, okay, let's get to the elephant beetle in the room. The problem with Pinsir is that this all sounds way too familiar. Heracross has the same attack and speed stats, isn't weak to rock, learns close combat, has guts, and gets the type bonus to its fighting attacks. About the only advantage Pinsir has is getting X-Scissor early while Heracross has to wait for Megahorn. But I kinda think that you'd rather have a strong fighting move than a strong bug move most of the time. If you do want a strong bug type though, Pinsir's your boy. He's pretty nice. Eevee. During the main story, can only evolve into 5 different kinds of Pokemon. If you use a Water Stone, it evolves into Vaporeon. It switches in with Water Absorb, it bulks that water, it uses Surf, Ice Beam, and Shadow Ball. Basic for certain, but the stats are so high that I kinda doubt you'll mind. It's an example of how you don't need a ton of tools in order to be good. Vaporeon's biggest sin is being totally unable to damage other water types, so have a good switch in for those elsewhere on the team. Jolteon is one of the best electric types. It's so fast that it's unlikely to lose a race even if the enemy got a speed buff. It's that fast. Quite a few tough battles in this game involve a Gyarados, and it just eats them for breakfast. The Thunderbolt TM from the Game Corner is basically a necessity, but if you're using the cracked RNGs that I showed you, it's a cakewalk. It uses Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball super duper well, and that's all she wrote. Thunder Wave is laughably off limits, so it won't be aiding you when catching Pokemon a lot of the time. Jolteon's good, it's just kind of shallow, and you'll have to ask yourself if Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball are good enough for you to not pick more interesting Eevee evolutions. With a Firestone, believe it or not, Flareon isn't too bad this time around. There's like no fire types unless you chose Cyndaquil. Your choices are Magmar, Flareon, that one Slugma you get from a password, and that's basically it. Everything else is too late to be considered competition for that role of a good fire type. Honestly, I'd call Flareon second place to Magmar easy. Here comes the gripes that you came for, because they are still true even if Flareon doesn't have as much competition. Flareon's biggest stat is attack, and it lacks any moves to take advantage of it, being stuck with just breathing fire with its weak lungs. Eevee just evolves into so many better Pokemon. No Alakazam? No problem. Espeon is what you get if Eevee evolves using Happiness during the day. Espeon uses Psybeam and Shadow Ball with almost as much speed and special attack as a fully evolved Alakazam. I would say Alakazam outclasses it for sure, but Espeon is still highly useful. And I'll tell him, he is enough. It's worth considering if you don't have access to trading. That's just all it has going for it. Name basically any move that comes to mind with Espeon, and I guarantee you when you look it up, it's locked down. No Calm Mind, no Baton Pass. It's a fine choice for Reflected Light Screen on account of just not really doing much else. And for evolving with Happiness during night, Umbreon is complete setup incarnate. When going for default moves, it uses Confuse Ray and Sand Attack so that some other Pokemon could safely set up. I, however, prefer going for egg moves. Catch yourself a male Slowpoke, teach it Curse. Breed that with a female Wooper that has Yawn. Get a male Offspring and breed that with a female Eevee. It takes some work. You'll probably have to reset this Eevee that you get from Bill a fair number of times. But this thing is a boss slayer if it gets going. You can use that payback TM that we got on it, and that will blast through its resistances with it being so slow and just having its attack through the roof after using multiple curses. The worst thing about Umbreon is its competition. The others don't require so much work to raise optimally or a bunch of setup turns to win fights. But if you can, Umbreon is quite a boss slayer. Raticate! The Ecruteak gym leader is Ghost type, while Raticate is normal and has bites. If you need a last minute Pokemon to make the upcoming gym free, then this is what you need. Coughing! Exactly what I think of when I think tanky poison type. It fills that role perfectly. Pure Poison and its defense is strong at soaking up lots of hits, plus Levitate is the best ability that Arceus could have chosen for it. It's only weak to Psychic. But here it comes. This guy's gimped by no access to Toxic or Will-O-Wisp, or Pain Split. Poison Gas is its only pure status move, and it's laughably awful at 55% accuracy. It does self-destruct in Sludge Bomb kind of nicely. For coverage, you could give it Thunderbolt or even Fire Blast for some reason. There's the Payback TM that we picked up a couple routes ago. I'd say that there's certainly potential for it. It's not useless. It's just not what you've really come to expect from Coughing, with it being the tanky guy and all. But it has enough upsides anyway that I don't really think it matters all that much. It's able to take hits and dish them back too. Magmar! In case you missed the Pokewalker episode, the short version is that it's stuck as a Magmar until basically the final boss fight. But that's not bad if you need a fire type. It just doesn't really do much besides breathe fire really well. If you are old enough / rich enough to have 2 Pokewalkers in your possession, then you can link the 2 Pokewalkers together to Mystery Gift once a day, and there's a chance it'll give you a Magmarizer, letting you get this early. Oh, we're in the right spot! We're in the right spot! Oh yeah! All right! Entei! A brute of a fire type with high speed and better attack. Unfortunately, it's a pretty shallow Pokemon, and I wouldn't say that its stats work well with its best techniques. Its physical fire moves are just so lacking, so it ends up breathing fire instead of punching you with it. Yeah, and that's really it. Every time I saw a move that worked for it, there was always a caveat, or 20. Its physicality is limited to stuff like Iron Tail and Dig. Is this sounding familiar? Yeah, it's only good at Flamethrower, and it burns colder than Magmar. Typhlosion burns hotter and has higher speed than Entei. Then Arcanine is nearly identical in every way, but it has Intimidate and Extreme Speed. Then if you really want to see how poor this is stat-wise, you want to know who has a better Flamethrower and all the same physical moves? Freaking Flareon. It's kinda sad to advise you to pass on a legendary Pokemon because I look forward to really talking these guys up, but it's outclassed and this just isn't the environment for it. Plus, even if Entei was somewhat comparable to these other Pokemon, are you really gonna go through so much trouble to add it to your team when other objectively better options are just normal common Pokemon found at any old route? Real talk for a moment, I considered using Entei on my team because I didn't think it would be overpowered and I thought it'd be a fun challenge to actually get it. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go! Raikou, the Legend of Thunder! There is no better Thunderbolt in Johto, and its speed is an immediate standout. Unfortunately, that's all it can pull off. Raikou's best coverage moves are locked behind events, and Calm Mind is unfortunately totally off limits for it, so it doesn't quite do as well as it normally would. I would recommend Shadow Ball and Light Screen, but it's hard to even think of a potential fourth move for it. The best I can do is probably Rain Dance and going with Thunder over the old Bolts. Consider checking its hidden power. That might actually be something worth considering with how good its special attack stat is. It only knows how to shoot lightning, but man does it do it well. It is carried by its stats. Sigh. So first off, Cloud9 is its ability. Weather negating is rare. This is the first time that we've even met a Pokemon that can do that. Now, is that a selling point? Not in this lifetime, it's not. There's so few places in Johto with naturally occurring weather, and the few that do, it's raining and you'd actually want the buffs it grants for a water Pokemon. Psyduck ends up becoming a holder of just very okay stats, and it lets out Surfs and Ice Beams reasonably well. If that's what you want, it's far from the worst Pokemon. It's just not immensely exciting or going to one-shot very much. Slowbro. This is redundant with Slowpoke. I don't really think there's anything more I could say about it other than the fact that rarely it could be holding the King's Rock. Just thought you'd like to know that. Useful item. So, not to be too negative, but I just have to start with the bad. It takes way too long for Natu to learn any kind of psychic attack. Lack of moves is a problem for so many Pokemon. The tutors aren't in the main story, the TMs are all at the very end, and so many Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon just have poor level up move pools because They're grandfathered in from earlier games when nothing had type coverage. It captures the feeling of playing the original Gold and Silver when we were 9 and just clicking random moves because we didn't know any better. Natu is the perfect embodiment of this. It's just nothing. You could toss Shadow Ball onto it, and that's all I got. Natu ends up being a cleric, able to lay down Reflect, Light Screen, Wish reliably. It lacks power of its own, but is a team player. Smeargle! Your artistic imagination is the limit. Well, in some ways, more like your patience is the limit. Smeargle has only one move and one move alone, Sketch, which permanently copies the target's last used move. Smeargle learns every single move there is, and this is before they nerfed it, so that signature moves fail if Smeargle uses them. To get the desired moveset, get a Pokemon with the moves you want. Encounter a wild Smeargle, move first, you might need a quick claw for this part, and then use the move without knocking out Smeargle. It'll use Sketch, permanently copying that move before you've even caught it. It relearns Sketch at levels 11, 21, 31, etc. I would recommend dropping it in the daycare so that you could learn another copy of Sketch and copy the next move that you want to do. Besides that, Smeargle's stats just plain suck. They had to make it weak in some respect because its move pool is everything and it still manages to be good in spite of those flaws. This guy ruined competitive Pokemon for a decade. You could give Smeargle a sleep move like Spore or Dark Void. Could make it baton pass any buff you wanted to any Pokemon you wanted. Give it Super Fang so it just cuts off half the opponent's health bar whenever you wish. Or you could just load it up with every powerful legendary signature move in existence. Me? I'm gonna catch Smeargle for another reason. Poliwhirl. Remember when I said that it was probably worth skipping on Poliwag early on because it was very weak? This is why. Poliwhirl can be found here at some incredibly high levels, like we're talking as high as 32. If you passed on it earlier, it's immediately useful thanks to us having the Surf HM and evolutionary stones being a thing. You could have bought the Water Stone from the Pokeathlon, you could have bought a King's Rock there, or you could have gotten a King's Rock from the side quest that I did. Honestly, it's basically a free Politoed and a pretty dang good Pokemon at that, while being probably the highest level Pokemon on your team. It's nice. Graveler. I have nothing new to say about this. It's strong offensively and defensively, but it's slow as molasses. It hits really hard, learns good moves. You know it, you love it, you can't live without it. But more importantly, we have a new Pokemon, Wobbuffet. This is a perfect example of amazing and competitive has no business taking you to the league. It's packing a ton of HP because it does one thing and one thing only, counter. And, you know, Mirror Coat. And its remaining moves are Destiny Bond and Safeguard. Encore is locked behind breeding moves that, say it with me, aren't available until the end of the game. So, one moveset forever. It only ever does that one thing. It brings down opponents with it whenever it looks like it's about to faint, and otherwise it just counters their moves or it locks them into using a move that you want them to use against you. All it does is guarantee you a KO against a single Pokemon as long as you know what attribute they're going to use, or multiple Pokemon if you're a dirty item spammer. It's just that you often don't know the movesets of regular enemies. Maybe you're like me and you've memorized some of the boss movesets, but odds are you're probably not going to be able to put it into practice in a lot of cases. It's strong when it works, don't get me wrong, it's just that it's kind of slow and frustrating compared to just hitting stuff, you know? Lapras is found in Union Cave only on Fridays. It may look defensive, but I'd say it's more of an all-arounder. Lapras has a surprisingly easy time getting all of its best moves. We got Ice Beam through leveling up, Surf is free, Perish Song awaits for you to get free KOs on a trainer's ace Pokemon. Believe it or not, you can even teach it Thunderbolt from the game corner. This is not only a good Dragon Slayer, but also a good anti-water Pokemon. You'll have to put up with poor speed and a type without all that many resistances, but I could still call it great. Like, it's good. This one even comes knowing Ice Shard at starting moveset to help make up for that speed. Plus, what else are you gonna pick for an early game Ice type? Smoochum's the only one we've seen and it's in the friggin' Pokewalker. Tentacruel. I mentioned that it was easy to wait on Tentacruel to skip that awkward early adolescent phase. This is your chance to catch Tentacruel should you want to do that. Marill. Normally a 1% chance, but is Swarm. So Marill is the alternative Totodile. It's a physical water type. That ability is better than it looks. Not translating to an effective 100 attack, it doubles the stat, meaning that an attack nature is buffing it by 20%, IVs are doubled, all that good stuff. It can work out to an effective 120 or even 130 attack if you have the right stuff. It has fairly reasonable moves to accomplish its goals with, such as Aqua Tail or Waterfall, though it takes some time to find those moves, and if you happen to have a male Golduck, I'd recommend hard scaling the move Aqua Jet onto it and breeding it with Marill to get a Marill with Aqua Jet. I don't know where I was going with that. That's its best move, hands down. Marill struggles a tad, but it comes into its own after a while. It's not really that bad. But let's talk about Girafarig. So Girafarig may not look like all that much in a competitive format, but this is widely in the conversation for best Pokemon in the game if we're talking single player. I'm not joking. Talk to any challenge runner, they will sing its praises. This is because it learns agility and baton pass at low levels, is compatible with Shadow Ball, and get this, it can actually learn Psychic easily during the main story. Just hallelujah! Being Psychic normal can only be a good thing. It's trading its fighting resistance for a ghost immunity. It's kind of funny how a little guy like this is so good because it's just simple and works as intended and doesn't have to jump through a bunch of hoops for its basic moves. It's just a case where it got very lucky in the move pool department. This is a great Pokemon. It starts every battle with Intimidate, and then it rubs its type in their frickin' face when so many Pokemon can do little against it. When it's Gyarados' turn, it's got Aqua Tail and Ice Fang to take advantage of its high attack, and eventually, it learns how to dance. Dragon Dance. Since it only needs one move to set up two of its stats, that fourth move slot can just do whatever sounds good. It could go for Fire Blast, or Thunderbolt, or Earthquake. The list goes on with all the ridiculous moves it shouldn't be able to learn, but it does. Due to its combination of offense and defense, it's just safe is what I'd call it. It's a beast, and with it being a guaranteed encounter, how can you not capture it? If nothing else, it's the coolest HM user you'll ever meet. In HeartGold only, Mankey is a speedy fighting type, which is pretty unusual. Normally, fighting types are slow, bulky, hard-hitting, so pretty stand out. Right off the bat, I like both abilities. Immunity to Sleep is nice, Anger Point is just plain fun if you can get it going. That said, it's pretty frail, so it's not often that it'll proc... God, I hate that word, why did I just use it? I think it sounds so dumb, I'm sorry. Primeape is powerful for the level that it evolves at, but it falls off a lot late game. It can be good, but you're basically using all of your best limited TMs to make it so. U-turn, Rock Slide, Earthquake, that kind of stuff. It just doesn't get much besides fighting moves through level up, so it's pretty one note unless you invest all your best items into it. Voltorb! Shh, let's wait a little bit longer. Don't catch this one for your team. There will be something a little bit better available if you just wait a matter of minutes. Trust me. Oh yeah, Electrode, that's right, we have a new Pokemon here, and I told you to hang on for a little bit if you wanted to catch these. Electrode blows up and uses Thunderbolt. Its moves are otherwise horrible, but it always goes first. It's great if you just need those two things. That's really all I have to say about it. Maybe we'll catch one. Staryu. Thunderbolt, Ice Beam, Surf. What more could you ask for? Okay, Psychic. It basically doesn't get Psychic until you're near the end of the game, another victim of TM placement. Toss it Thunderbolt and Ice Beam from the game corner, and it's awesome. Its coverage is incredible for the standards of things in Johto, and it can probably take a couple of lumps while it's at it. It's just one of those tried and true Pokemon that's always good. Corsola. The only thing it's good for is quad resisting fire. Its stats suck so hard that a rich move pool can't save it. It's no wonder that by the time they finally gave it an evolution, it was already dead. And then, if we surf south of Olivine to the Whirl Islands and fish there, or New Barktown if you don't mind walking all that way. Our other two new encounters begin with Shelder. This is pre-Shell Smash, so it isn't the Shelder that you know and love. But that isn't to say it's bad. This is one of the most unique water types out there. It's a mixed attacker with a mean defense, and Skill Link is the entire reason to play it. It has access to Icicle Spear as long as it's taught as a Shelder. Should you want to add Rock Blast to its moveset, you'll have to breed it with a male Corsola, a pretty mean feat. It's not a terrible use of the Explosion TM either. Cloyster only comes recommended for those who want something different, not for those who want a bog standard good water type. Chinchou is a Pokemon that I thought was poor for a while due to its middling stats, but nothing could be further from the truth. Water and Electric give it some tough coverage. Surf is a freebie. We could just buy Thunderbolt and Ice Beam. It's all sounding quite similar to Staryu, honestly. It mainly sets up with Stockpile against other water types, zaps them into oblivion, and then probably has the weakness of whatever the next Pokemon's going to be, which can barely even hurt it now thanks to its stats being buffed. It also happens to be perfect for the 3 hardest fights in the game, having opportunities to set up and score free KOs in all of them. This is a welcome Pokemon because the endgame is so nasty in HeartGold SoulSilver in particular, it might just save you from hours of grinding. So this Voltorb always has a neutral nature. Its good IVs are speed and special attack. I couldn't really tell you if this is better than catching the Electrode, as you could get a beneficial nature on that one just fine with the synchronized strat. I suppose the Electrode is short-term better stats, while a traded Pokemon like this Voltorb is long-term more EXP. That's the compromise that I'm seeing. Mantine, in HeartGold only. As majestic as it looks, it just kinda sits around and uses water and ice moves without any real oomph behind it. Mantine clearly wants to stall, but there just aren't options for it due to moves like Toxic being so far away. For any additional coverage, it's completely lacking. Like, it gets Psybeam, but not Psykick. Or it gets Signal Beam or frickin' Bullet Seed. So it learns moves of all kinds of different types, but they're just lacking in power. Mantine is one of the hardest Pokemon to catch, both in terms of encounter rate, version exclusivity, and thirdly, how good it is at busting your balls. Like, it has a low catch rate. Okay. And for those reasons, I would say it's not worth the effort. It's a shame. Love your design, though. Shuckle is all defense. It looks like it would be a good tank, but it lacks any HP to back up those defenses, and, you know, defense isn't the only thing that matters in a fight. It's the slowest species of Pokemon ever, and it might as well be unable to attack. I can think of exactly one role for it, and that's PP stalling the enemy by spamming items and using Encore. Normally, I would suggest running Toxic and Protect to rack up cheap damage, but this is yet another victim of no Toxic until you're practically done. Should you want it, you're free to just never talk to Kirk again and keep Shucky. He'll even let you keep it if it has high happiness when you show it to him again. Shucky can never be shiny in this version, but it could be in the original. Might be a nice obscure hunt for you. Seal! Seal, seal, seal! Surf and Ice Beam! Though not exactly a performing Seal when it comes to using them. It's just outclassed due to so many good water Pokemon everywhere that do more and do it better. Hydration is about the only thing about Seal that stands out, but the chances of actually utilizing that in a trainer's adventure are low. I guess Thick Fat's kinda nice. It doesn't resist much without it. It's the epitome of just there. It's a Seal. What else is there to say? Machoke! Here's your chance to go for no guard if you don't have the Pokewalker. This is when it becomes worth it to raise this family of Pokemon. Just be aware that you gotta trade it, and you'll enjoy Cross Chop or Dynamic Punch that never miss. Misdreavus! Yay! Finally it's not level 15 and only in the final area! People say that the accessibility of Johto Pokemon is the worst thing about this game. I say different. They fixed quite a few of them. So what do you get for it now that we can actually use it for once? Well, it can mean look on that pesky Raikou. Could go for a Pain Split or a Shadow Ball for interesting moves. Its greatest use case is Perish Song as a win button against a trainer's last Pokemon. It's certainly distinct, able to do some special tasks in rough battles, but is pretty lacking in power for minute-to-minute battling. I love Steelix! We don't even need to trade in order to get it now. If you were thinking about this earlier, but you passed on it for that reason, now's your chance. So long as the situation calls for ground, rock, or steel, and the enemy struggles with steel types, the battle is free. It's incredibly defensive to the point where that becomes an offense. Because if the enemy can't do anything to it, it basically becomes an aggressive Pokemon. We can teach it Iron Tail almost immediately, and we'll use it for the rest of the road trip. New to its move pool in HeartGold SoulSilver is Curse, and when so many Pokemon are helpless against it, yeah, you should make that a fourth move. It's got one major Achilles heel, and that's being surfed on, which happens reasonably often. It's got no way of handling a strong water type. I say to use that to your advantage. If you've got Politoed or another water absorber, you might as well use it to bait out those moves with Steelix and switch to them. It can have some great team synergy, and it's easy to slot into any roster. Now, if you saw the encounters back in Cliff Cave and thought, but it's only a 2% encounter, don't worry. It's the highest level Pokemon in Cliff Cave, so as long as you have a Pokemon that's level 23, throw up a Repel, you'll find it instantly. And now that we're done with Cliff Cave, Route 48 has one new Pokemon, Diglett. This does exactly one thing and one thing only. It traps and revenge KOs other sweepers. It's one of the fastest Pokemon, but is pretty lacking in all other areas. Through Heart Scale, it can grab Night Slash or even Sucker Punch, which I would totally recommend both of those. It uses Earthquake, and I guess you could toss on Aerial Ace for a little bit of coverage. Its power just isn't too exciting or able to bring down anything with decent bulk. If it gets hit once, it's over. The definition of good at what it does, but highly situational. Starting in the forest, we have Ash's father. It's Discount Alakazam. It's finely fast and hard hitting, plus it gets actual psychic moves that are worth a damn. Unlike Alakazam and Espeon, it might take some hits from a special attacker, but is possibly even more frail if the foe so much as bites it. Toss Thunderbolt and Shadow Ball into its hands and you won't want for more. In the meadow, Jigglypuff. A normal type that learns a sea of fantastic moves. Every time you get a special TM, try it out because it's probably a yes. But its stats are anything but fantastic. It's slow, it's weak, so it winds up wanting for support moves, which is not pretty. Reflect and Light Screen are your lot. I guess we have Moonstones and you may as well evolve straight away, that's about it.
Clefairy.
A normal type that learns a sea of fantastic moves. Every time you get a special TM, try it out because it's probably a yes. But its stats are marvelous, and its ability is even better. Clefable may have less HP than Wigglytuff, but it has better defenses to balance it out and withstand more. And Magic Guard is a rare, beautiful ability that prevents any damage source other than attacks. Charm is my favorite move from its early stages, coming in handy a lot more than you might expect. Meteor Mash might look cool, but I wouldn't recommend waiting for it because it isn't quite as helpful as it seems. Once you got Charm, go for the Moonstone. Skiploom says its Japanese name in the anime, even in the dub for some reason. I was doing impressions of all of them, okay? I wanted to talk about Skiploom because there's an alternate strategy that it can perform now that we're further into the game that wasn't really relevant when we were talking about Hoppip. Skiploom can win basically any battle for free as long as it hits Sleep Powder once. It's incredibly fast, outspeeding almost everything when it's fully evolved, so you Sleep Powder, Leech Seed, Substitute, and Protect. It's slow, it's unfun to actually do this over and over, but it's a win button for basically any battle that's unique to it. Even taking that away, it's fast and it uses Sleep Powder. Of course I'm gonna say it's fine. In the Savannah is Rhyhorn. Yeah, it learns Surf, we all know. Yes, we also know it's a ground rock type, which has never happened any other time. Yes, we all know Rhydon was the first Pokemon ever designed. This thing is like overdone trivia, the Pokemon. First off, no Rhyperior until actually the final boss fight. It's a Rhydon for life. Done. This means no solid rock, and its special defense is simply pitiful. Now, with all that said, it still does all right for itself. It's not useless. Its attack and defense should not be counted out because we can look forward to Stone Edge and Earthquake in the level moveset. That's not common. The biggest flaw is the road getting there. It evolves at level 42, and it just kind of sucks until it does. Rhyhorn gets stuck with a bunch of normal moves and frickin' Rock Tomb. It's so weak for so long, but it can pay off if you stick by it. In the Wasteland, if you don't have access to the Pokewalker, this is your best chance to get Kangaskhan. Freaking good luck catching this thing without being able to weaken it. Oh my gosh, just look at that freaking catch rate. Kangaskhan's got good stats all around, able to do a little bit of everything. Scrappy is an ability I feel a lot of new players don't give enough credit. Being able to hit ghost Pokemon with your same type of normal type moves is awesome, and the ability's always seen success in competition. Not everything has to be super effective for it to be good. Reliable damage has its merits. I wouldn't even call the mere sparkler it has for a special attack a downside. It gets plenty of physical moves, so it isn't really a problem. Fake Out's always fun and available from the start. Crunch Rocks, Toss It Return, it'll be fine. At later levels, we seriously get Outrage, so this is a viable Dragon Slayer. And then Sucker Punch, like, even though normal types tend to have a wide array of moves, this one somehow still manages to stand out. It's just a blend of interesting moves and decent stats. What more do you want? In the mountain, Lickitung. Fabulous, simply fabulous. Just look at him, he's dripping with style. The Lickitung is one of the lucky few to get a new evolution over the old Gold and Silver, and it pays off big time. It may not have the best attacking stats or speed, but its bulk lets it stick around for a few turns, and it learns downright every good TM out there. I'd suggest buying Swords Dance at the game corner and maybe toss a special move on it or two. It even learns Surf. If nothing else, it's a great HM user. When I say it's lacking in the speed department, that's its biggest sin. The fact that faster normal types also learn lots of TMs is kind of an outclassment, if that's even a word. My favorite piece of trivia, though, is that it's the only stab explosion in the whole game. It can be pretty fun for that alone. Larvitar. Now here's a prospect. You know, because like it's rock and prospector. Being able to use Larvitar throughout the main story. Back on the old Game Boy, I tell you what, you youngin', this wasn't available until the finale. It's a long road full of weak stats, but for walking it, you'll be rewarded handsomely with some of the most beastly stats there are to date. Crunch, Earthquake, and Stone Edge. Larvitar even starts off knowing Rock Slide, can't call that useless. Once fully evolved, its signature ability summons sandstorms for free that last indefinitely. Unless another Pokemon lays down a different weather effect, the sandstorm never goes away. If your team's got a steel or a ground type on it, oh, this guy and that Pokemon were made for each other. An unspoken benefit of sandstorms that isn't really talked about much in the actual game is 50% more special defense for rock types, meaning that its stats are effectively even higher than they look. Try out some TMs on it when it's fully evolved. It's not half bad at using Thunderbolt or Ice Beam, which really surprised me back in the day when I tried using a Tyranitar for the first time. Now, I just seem to be boasting about Tyranitar, and that's the thing. Its earlier forms just aren't all that noteworthy. They're in the way of the real prize, and you'll have to put up with them for most of the adventure to get there. Also, it's equally just as hard to catch as Kangaskhan, so there's that. In the desert biome, we have Cubone. You want that thick club. It's a serious contender for the best held item of all time, doubling the attack of Cubone and Marowak only. Rockhead doesn't have a lot of value outside of Double Edge. I'd say Lightning Rod could be a decent alternative for doubles if your team has multiple electric weaknesses. It just doesn't have either ability being particularly useful in this specific game. If Cubone has any downside, it's lack of good moves. Endgame move tutors are locking away moves like Outrage, Fire Punch, and Thunder Punch. That isn't to say it's all bad. It gets Bone Meringue, a rare 2-hit 50 power move that is roughly as good as Earthquake with 2 chances to crit. This means that you could save Earthquake for another Pokemon and effectively still have it on your Cubone, and it's a solid coverage move for so many Pokemon. I think you'll end up teaching it Swords Dance, Rock Slide, and Brick Break for the other 3 moves. Marowak can also be found in the wild around here at the same level. It's just higher stats and sooner, but harder to catch. Murkrow, who was originally not available during the main story. It was so baffling to me why they stuck all the dark types in the post-game, meaning that we couldn't play with this fancy new type they advertised the game with, but now we can. On one hand, the Duskstone necessary to evolve it is not going to be available to you before the League. But that's not really such a bad thing because you'll want to wait until level 45 to use that stone anyway, because that's when it gets Sucker Punch. Once it evolves, its stats are quite all around, and it's undoubtedly one of the best users of that move around. I kind of like both of Murkrow's abilities for different reasons, too. We can give it Night Slash to play off of Super Luck, and Immunity to Sleep is always a welcome thing. For flying, it uses Aerial Ace or Fly. Good stats, good abilities, good type, just kind of underwhelming flying moves, which is the case for a lot of dual-type flying Pokemon. I would say it's one of those Pokemon that's decent at getting you to the league, but if you still want to use it after that point, it's even better. Doduo. So this is the objectively better Fearow if you were willing to wait all of this time to use it, as opposed to catching Spearow with 0 badges. Yeah. It uses Drill Peck well, it's fast, it's got room for a good normal move and quick attack for fringe cases, but really, that's all it is. It's basic, but it's good at what it does. And Grimer! Its stats are mediocre and its move power is simply pitiful. It buffs up with Curse, then it tears things apart with Poison Jab or Gunk Shot, but that isn't type effective on much of anyone, and in fact, a lot of important battles resist poison moves. If you just gotta use it, lean into the attack stat, give it Brick Break or Explosion. I struggle to even find 4 decent moves to recommend for this thing, because a lot of would-be great options are sectioned off into move tutors or breeding with Pokemon that just aren't in this part of the world. Tangela is how they pronounced it in Pokemon Stadium. It's official, don't sue me. It's got undeniably good stats, and if it's on a Sun team, it's got good speed too. Access to Sleep Powder makes it doubly good in that environment. Its greatest asset would be the rare Stab Power Whip, but that's in the high 50s, so it's kinda off the table. It's sadly pretty lacking in the moves department without significant TM investment. I'm talking like using your only Earthquake TM to make this work. It's not useless, but is just kinda there unless you're willing to invest hard in it. Remoraid. This is a Pokemon that isn't bad by any stretch, but it just comes in so much later than all of its competition. It's slow, like barely faster than the frickin' Slug, and it doesn't have any way around it. It can soak up an attack or two just fine, and its type is good at that. Then when it gets to move, it's a potent mixed attacker. It would do well with Surf or Waterfall. We could buy Ice Beam at the game corner, and most surprisingly, it's compatible with Fire Blast. I'd say it's a unique Pokemon that does well if the time is right, but it can struggle where other water types would still do fine. Jinx. As stated before with Smoochum in the Pokewalker video, it learns no psychic moves until the end of the road. Pick this up if you need a last-minute Dragon Slayer because it's good at using ice moves, and that's about it. Swinub! It's faster than it looks, and more than powerful enough to dethrone dragons. Luckily, it has just enough speed to outmatch the specific dragons that we're worried about on this particular adventure. Make sure to teach it Ice Shard as a Swinub, then Heartscale Ice Fang as a later form so that you have a priority move and a harder hitting move on the same Pokemon. Follow those 2 complications and it'll do its job mighty fine. And yep, it gets Earthquake via leveling up. Married to its 2 types, but that's hardly a bad thing in this case. Delibird in SoulSilver only. Ugh, I say. Those stats tell it all. Delibird is an empty Pokeball. You know, it kind of looks like one too. It doesn't even have bad stats. It barely has stats. Ice Flying is pitiful defensively, and it outright has to use TMs to learn anything. Its only leveling up move is its signature move, Present. A physical, normal type move that has a 40% chance of hitting for 40 base power, whoopee. A 30% chance of 80 base power, still not that great. A 10% chance of 120 base power, all right. And a 20% chance to heal the enemy for a quarter of their HP. It doesn't get same type attack bonus with its only attacking move. And when calculating averages, it's a worse version of Return unless it hits that 10% chance multiple times in a row. Odds are odds, it's not gonna outperform a Return on anything else. Delibird's not even good at using Ice Beam or Aerial Ace, or any TM for that matter, because absolutely anything else besides Ledian would use them better. I'm sorry, Delibird, you just suck. And that's it. That's seriously it. You might think that I'm forgetting about somebody. You know, what about Sneasel? Well, they took him out. I'm not joking. I don't have Rock Smash. I'm gonna have to come back here. They freaking took Sneasel out. You could catch it here in Crystal version. Even though it was here just fine in Crystal version, and a lot of the other Crystal improvements are in this game, they seemingly forgot to put Sneasel here. You can't get it until the post-game. It's one of the few Johto Pokemon that is completely locked away. Not in the Safari Zone in the main story, not in the Pokewalker during the main story, nothing. You just cannot have a Sneasel. It's so freaking stupid that this oversight even happened, but it did. Gligar! Frickin' no. Guess how you evolve this thing. Go on, guess. By spending 48 BP in the battle frontier. Yep, without evolving, it gets no elemental fangs, no ground moves without using the Digger Earthquake TM, no toxic or rock moves before the league, not even a single flying move other than Aerial Ace and only from a TM. So, what's even left at that point? Fury Cutter? Yeah, that's your best option until it's over level 40 when you get to trade that in for X-Scissor. Just complete junk. And this is the 8th gym we're talking about. For how open Johto is, there was no earlier time to find Gligar. It's just in the one route that you can't access starting at the 4th gym. Go home. In SoulSilver only, we have Teddy Ursa. I wouldn't catch this here. We have a better option coming right up.
Oh my god!
Shame they didn't keep this as a second route encounter from Crystal. It's not bad. It's just, we get it so late. Same problem that Gligar has. HeartGold only. Similarly, I wouldn't catch this here. Better way to catch this coming up real soon. And last up is Skarmory. Skarmory's type is excellent, making it free to set up against several big bosses that can hardly dent that steel. Its type is downright evil, being nearly impossible for many Pokemon to deal with. It gains agility and Swords Dance, uses those in free setup scenarios, then follows up with Fly and Steel Wing. I personally see it as too much trouble to breed Drill Peck onto it because we're so high leveled at this point, as our only options are Spearow and Doduo to breed with, and both of those get them at pretty high levels. We ain't Wolf Glick over here, so we can just use Fly because we're fighting AIs and not actual smart people. The Master will only recognize you with this gift should you have answered the questions the way that I did. This free Dratini will not be given to you any other way. It is always level 15, Jolly Nature, but this, wow, good Dratini. I mean, minus special attack kinda sucks. This Dratini will always know Extreme Speed, a move that it cannot learn any other way. When the attack says that it always goes before any other move, it means it. Even if your opponent is faster than you and use a priority move, you out-prioritize other priority moves. It is an awesome attack that can be used to finish off any Pokemon that you just barely do not knock out. If you're going to raise Dratini for any reason whatsoever, I recommend that it's this one specifically because it's too good to ignore. The Dragonair for Dodrio trade that we saw before. Quite possibly the worst in-game trade of all time. Dodrio's awesome, don't get me wrong, but Dragonair is such a pain to get, and this Dodrio always has Runaway for its ability, not even Early Bird. It's also an exception to the rule of good IVs on in-game trades by just having 15s and 20s and not anything higher than that. Even worse, we're actually 2 routes away from catching Doduo normally. But you might be thinking, oh, I bet it's holding a super cool item, right? They all are. Nope. It's holding a Smoke Ball. You know, when it has an ability that guarantees running away from any Pokemon anyway, and we got a Smoke Ball for free in Goldenrod before we could even do this trade at all, it's worthless. Don't even bother. Horsea and Seadra. First of all, skip it if you can't trade because Seadra fell off hard 2 gyms ago. Once fully evolved, Kingdra is the lone water dragon type besides Palkia in this adventure, giving you only one weakness: other dragons. Kingdra will give you only good stats, making it reliable in neutral matchups and outright impossible for most Pokemon to one-shot under any circumstance. It uses Surf, Ice Beam, and Dragon Pulse, all of which are found in the immediate future. Both of its abilities are great, but we probably want Swift Swim. It's just so darn good in Rain that I'd advise keeping its 4th slot open for Rain Dance, because what else is it gonna do? It's got 3 good moves. Just give it that. If you go this route, do keep in mind that Seadra is one of those weird middle forms that has different abilities from the 1st and 3rd form. So if your Seadra has Poison Point, that's the ability that becomes Swift Swim. Lugia, you're untouchable! Lugia is the ultimate tank. Basically nothing threatens it at full health. Its ability of pressure is actually welcome for once, able to PP stall powerful moves out of its enemies, and it has access to HP recovery moves to aid in this process too. Lugia has a signature move of its own, Aeroblast, a 100 power special flying type move with a high critical chance. A definite strong contender for the ultimate neutral move on any Pokemon. Pop that in Ice Beam, and it'll be the star of any team. Using Lugia basically makes any single Pokemon free to defeat, as no one will be able to outlast it. And despite being a tank, it's one of the fastest Pokemon in all of Johto, even beating out competent sweepers. The only poor attribute of Lugia at all is Calm Mind being wholly unreasonable to learn this time around. As one last point, Lugia is the best HM user in the game. It learns Fly, Surf, Strength, Whirlpool, Defog if you're gonna trade it into another game, Rock Smash, and Waterfall. Which means that's what you're doomed to be, buddy. Get in the ball. Tyrogue. Now here's a complicated Pokemon. We get it as a baby and we can go one of 3 different ways. Hitmonlee, the Kicking Fiend. I don't think anyone actually calls it that outside of that one episode, but they just kept insisting within that one episode, that's what everyone called it. It is an uncharacteristically fast fighting type that uses fighting type moves and Blaze Kick. To evolve into this form, we will need higher attack than defense at level 20, which can be achieved by resetting for Good Nature or with vitamins. A fun thing I hadn't realized is that you could go for Hitmonchan, which is achieved the opposite way, teach it Mach Punch, breed it with Ditto, and then get a Hitmonlee with Mach Punch as an egg move. That's about it. Hitmonlee is fast, it sweeps. You'll want Guts for Tyrogue's ability so that it has Limber, as that's the better ability for it. Second is the aforementioned Hitmonchan. This evolution occurs if defense is higher than attack at level I already said. For this one, you want to go for Steadfast, as that becomes the better ability Iron Fist. It has many different punching moves, increasing their power, and this might be the Pokemon that was helped the most from the physical special split. It went from being pitiful and incompatible with its own move pool to actually being a powerhouse physical attacker with excellent coverage. Check out its heart scale moves once it evolves. Last up is Hitmontop. If attack and defense are perfectly balanced at level 20, it will evolve into this. Similar to its balance, both of its abilities are compelling. Now, okay, it's not that Hitmontop is bad or anything, it's just not able to get its best moves, and its usual game of rapid spinning away entry hazards isn't helpful in single player. Seriously, Rolling Kick is its lot until we're practically done with all of the content in this adventure. And only with a heart scale at that. I will give it points for being a rare case where a Pokemon actually capitalizes on agility because it's not that fast and it learns it. That's about all I got for it. Cha-cha-cha-baka! I don't think you're looking for a poison type, and Ekans has been around since Goldenrod, you're fine. Ponyta, a sweeper of a fire type. It's faster than its kin that we've seen. Yet another pot shot, I'm taking it Entei. Unfortunately, it just doesn't get to use its strength for much. Don't expect to get Flare Blitz, trust me. It's stuck doing fire blasts with a still respectable but smaller attacking stat than it would if it was physical. Pop a heart scale onto it once it evolves to toss it Mega Horn. It's just available a bit too late to be relying on it over other fire types that we've had access to for much longer. A cool trick is breeding a female Ponyta with a male Stantler to give it Hypnosis. If you want to raise a level 1 Pokemon in Victory Road, I do not have room to throw stones on this point. Donphan! Now it's okay. I sadly can't tell you that it starts with Earthquake because it doesn't, and you might not even learn it through leveling up by the end of the league. A mildly amusing thing is that Thunder and Fire Fangs through the move reminder are available for it, but I highly doubt you'd use this thing to take on a Gyarados. A cool party trick is breeding it with frickin' Seal so you can learn Ice Shard. You know, in case you wanted to raise a level 1 Pokemon in Victory Road and that sounded appealing to you. It's not bad, it just feels mediocre compared to other hard-hitting ground types. Ursaring. Time to talk about Teddy Ursa's family for real. Just look at that face. He means you death and harm. Teddy Ursa is a guts cannon. Ew. That did not come out right. Its full attack stat is one of the best around, and between Guts and Swords Dance, oh, they don't call them the Guts Cannon for nothing. To take full advantage, we want the move Facade from the Goldenrod raffle on Fridays. Besides that, it's a solid use for Earthquake. It's the kind of attacker that's so powerful, it can afford to ignore type effectiveness. Just be wary of how slow it is. Houndour! Whew, they put the best fire type so far in the back that you basically don't get to use it. Try naming one time that you actually get to use Houndour during the main story of any game. Like, really, I'm challenging you. They always make you wait for Houndour for some reason. Flash Fire is the clear choice. Bait out the fire moves with your other Pokemon that are weak to fire, swap out at the right time, and turn Houndour into a ruthless beast. It buffs up with Nasty Plot, uses Flamethrower and Dark Pulse. Simple, yet effective. You can catch Houndoom at level 45-ish in the Safari Zone, and in fact, I'd recommend that. It's only about level 15 out here, probably not gonna be worth it. If you're willing to put up with the grind and you have a team with a glaring fire weakness, you can't do better than this. Corner! Gosh. Exclusive to the Game Corner, I hope you enjoy flipping Voltorbs! Or, you know, cheating with RNG manipulation. This is the only Pokemon that must be traded twice to evolve. We have Upgrade for Numero Uno, and it requires all 16 badges to get the other item. If trading is unavailable, I'd say Porygon is, frankly, disposable. If we can trade once, Porygon 2 is a decent enough tank, though it doesn't live up due to no Eviolite. That's mainly why it works so well nowadays. What you really want is Porygon Z, one of the strongest special attackers there is. Both abilities are respectable at buffing that power further, and speaking of buffing, Nasty Plot is its level 1 move with a heart scale. Numerous special moves work on it, you might as well experiment, see what it can do. Consider Tri-Attack, it's better than it seems on this Pokemon in particular. Electabuzz. This comes in so late, it's actually not too much later to wait for the Electrizer if you don't have a Pokewalker. Is that a compliment? I don't know. Anyway, Electabuzz is fine. There aren't really good options for a good physical electric move, so it just kind of learns moves through alternative means to get much done. It doesn't even learn Wild Charge, so it's Thunder Punch or Thunderbolt. Basically, everything else is a one-of-a-kind TM. But should you invest, it'll have near-perfect type coverage, just not with its same type move. Dugtrio for Magneton. Magneton is another one with 15 and 20 IVs, so it's a bit inferior to your typical in-game train, but regardless of what you think of Magneton, get it. The real prize is the guaranteed metal coat that it is holding. It has Magnet Pull for its ability as well, and that could be good for encountering steel types in the wild. Oh, wow, all right, okay, that's definitely it. It's a little weird that it didn't play the boss music. Latios! Man, only level 35. They just refuse to let you skip grinding in this game. Not even a roaming legendary can save you from that fate. But seriously, Latios is the best Pokemon. It's worth saving before starting the event and resetting for a good nature. We could take it over to Granny's and give it Draco Meteor right away for a nuke. You could use Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Surf, Grass Knot. The list goes on and on. I haven't even mentioned Psychic yet, and we have a TM for that, and we can buy more of them. Yeah, that's because you have to use this freaking TM on it, or you gotta wait until level 65. They just refuse to let anything learn Psychic in this game either. Oh well, it's good even without it. Both of its types will hit just about anything for at least neutral damage. Its stats are unreal, and its ability is amazing for singles and doubles alike. The thing that makes Latios so deadly is the fact that it's somehow allowed in the Battle Frontier, making it easily the strongest Pokemon in there. Latios even has a signature item we can get in Pewter City called the Soldew, raising its special attack and special defense by 50%. Like, what? You weren't overpowered enough already? You needed that? Now, it has two glaring problems. One is Calm Mind being wholly unreasonable to obtain, and the other is that the Soldew is banned in the Battle Frontier. No, it's more like it's shadow banned. They let you bring it in, it just doesn't do anything while you're in there and they never tell you. Nice one, guys. But Latios is a mainstay for a reason. It's just plain cool. And I'm not gonna find it right now because it's Chansey, the ultimate special wall. There is no special attacker that can break it, I promise. But it has only 10 defense. 10. It's awesome, but it's situational. its beam shooting powers are actually quite respectable. It'll probably use Ice Beam and Thunderbolt with Serene Grace boosting just fine. I am doing atrociously in this fight right now. I can't say much else for it. It's just those things and not really anything else. If it could get Seismic Toss, that would be a pretty good option. It's just not really the most accessible move here. I got a tip to make Chansey a lot easier to get. You want to go to Professor Oak's Pokemon Talk and see what is swarming today. There's a Chansey swarm on this route that will make Chansey a 40% encounter, and you are an in-game trade who will offer me Chansey for Aerodactyl, one of the strongest leads. Its speed is untouchable to all but Jolteon and Electrode, and... Wait, I only realized as I was planning this that this trade was removed. Huh. All the others are intact, so I just kind of assumed that she would have that for you. Oh well. Lantern, but if you've been watching this, you know exactly how Lantern works. I don't think there's really anything that I could add, but it is level 40. It is a good option to basically every late game big boss. I've praised it many times as having a good matchup against basically all of the toughest fights in this game in particular for some reason. So that is something that you could do. It's just not something that I think you necessarily will. Relicanth is slow and exploitable, easily taken out by special moves, but if it's against a strictly physical Pokemon, it can kind of work. Its attack stat is useful. We could go for Waterfall as a freebie. Double Edge with Rockhead can work. It's just not great outside of that. Needs TMs for rock moves or Earthquake. Pick it up if you're only willing to invest precious resources into making it work, or if you want a good physical water type. Now that that's over, I'm going back to speeding up all these battles. Man, actually, no. All of my inane ramblings sometimes have rhyme or reason, and this one kind of does. So last night, I had best dream I've had in a long time. I dreamed that I was living in my apartment complex that I grew up in, and I walked all around it, and I remembered, oh yeah, this kid lived in that house. Oh my God, they lived in that house, and that apartment, I guess. Sorry, semantics, but I was just... Snorlax opened its eyes widely. Meet Snorlax, the former king of all Pokemon. Seriously, nothing could touch this in Gold and Silver, and the entire meta revolved around it, like it's some kind of planet. While not quite that heavy anymore, it certainly has aged well. Snorlax has simply titanic stats, barely hurt by any special move that anything could ever dish out. It has an ability that grants it effective resistances to fire and ice, something it has defensively over other normal types. And it hits back big time when it becomes its turn. The guy just waltzes in at level 50, so it's a valuable addition to any team. I doubt you'd mind having this guy around no matter what 5 other Pokemon it's alongside. I used this Snorlax as a team filler all the time as a kid, and I never regretted it. It starts out having access to every single move it will ever get, of which I most recommend Body Slam and Crunch. This is a natural choice for the Earthquake TM if you've held on to that for a special occasion. It's got plenty of special moves outside of that, even if it isn't the most skilled at using them. It could be good for covering a team weakness if there's a quad weakness on something that you're afraid of, like using Surf, for instance. Now, if you're willing to throw away a level 50 Snorlax and grind all those levels for yourself for some reason, Slowpoke has Curse as a level 1 move and can breed with Snorlax to pass that move on. Don't do it. It's good, it's a great strategy, you see it in competitive a lot, but I think it's overkill and it's not worth the hours that it would take. The next thing I want to bring up about Snorlax is because wild Pokemon fleeing is the lowest priority, Snorlax is ironically the best trapper for roaming encounters. It starts off knowing block, and let's be real, this thing is a block in and of itself. It'll just suck up as many hits as you need it to. Yeah, it's awesome. Love Disc, a paperweight that smells like fish. Not a combination that anybody's a fan of. It has the worst fully evolved stats of any Pokemon except for its speed, and has the option to buff its speed ever further? Not sure what they were thinking on this one. The main reason that you want Love Disc is to steal heart scales from it. Gosh, imagine your partner giving you a freaking Love Disc to show their undying affection. Anyway, Aerodactyl, there you are. So, as I was saying the last time that we almost found Aerodactyl, it's your lead with speed untouchable to all but Jolteon and Electrode. It's yet another high stat Pokemon that needs TMs to really learn anything. Rock Slide and Earthquake are its best choices. For a flying move, fly, that's all I got. The flying type ends up being a defensive thing for it more than anything else because it just doesn't have the moves for that. Fossil Pokemon are always revived at level 20, so it's a bit of a grind to get them up to snuff, but if you can, Aerodactyl's fast and it hits hard. Kabuto's fossil is only found in SoulSilver. It's pretty strong and it's resilient against a fair amount of stuff as long as it's not a grass type move. Because it's so hard hitting and it learns Aqua Jet through level up, I would call this a fairly compelling Pokemon if you're willing to raise it up from the low levels. If there's anything wanting about it, it's that it doesn't learn a single physical rock type move leveling up. You've gotta use rare TMs on it if you wanna make it work. But if you do, it can be pretty good. It also functions well in rain. I probably would suggest Swift Swim as its ability and putting it on a weather team. And then the slow tanky boy is Omanite. Its fossil is only found in HeartGold. This one is more special oriented than Kabutops, also pretty hard hitting, though with a lower speed stat, it's a little hard to say which ability is truly better. It's not bad as with Swift Swim or anything, you just might prefer Shell Armor to protect it from critical hits. It sort of has the same problem as Relicanth, and it's even the same type to boot. It's not bad, it's just that you probably have a Pokemon that could already use Surf well at this point in the game, and you're not wanting for it. I think that Kabutops having Aqua Jet in its leveling up moveset makes it the more appealing of the two. I know, I'm a heretic. Welcome to the ultimate morality test. The very next game after Platinum, they did this. This is our chance to be the better person than that jerk near Snow Point City. We're on the opposite end of the Haunter trade. Do you give it an Everstone, or don't you? This is the judge. It is the deepest of all morality tests. Anyway, got a modest nature. It's holding a Walkenberry, so I probably wouldn't grab this for its item. And its IVs are between 15 and 20. It comes out to a pretty good Xatu, and you know, we finally have Psychic, so it's never been a better time to add it to your team, if you want it. Behold, the giver of life, Ho-Oh! Has impenetrable special defense, able to take on even super effective moves, and then dish out damage effectively. Ho-Oh has no especially bad stat, functioning as a tank, an attacker, and is speedy enough to break other walls. Ho-Oh has a signature move, Sacred Fire, a name you'd do well to remember. 100 power, 95% accuracy, with a 50% chance to burn. And Ho-Oh will always defrost itself from using it. This is just an extremely good move, all there is to it. If it doesn't KO, it'll probably burn them, making Ho-Oh take even less damage than it already would have. You might as well just fish for the burn if you don't think that you can knock out the opponent with any other move, because the odds are so good, and it's still gonna do some damage anyway. If you can tame the beast, you'd best toss a heart scale to the move reminder and give it Brave Bird. This is available immediately upon fighting Ho-Oh, even if you're playing HeartGold. There's plenty of options for the other two slots. You can go for Psychic or a wild card like Earthquake. The choice is yours. Now, you all knew this was coming. If there's one Achilles heel, it's rock types. Ho-Oh can do pretty much nothing to them, and it falls so easily against them that it's actually kind of impressive. I don't think you'll need to worry about Stealth Rock costing it half its HP on a switch-in, but it bears keeping in mind. Latios is a Latios with a bad nature. It's as simple as that. It's amazing. Sure, just not as amazing as the alternative, and with this event, you can get both of them anyhow. Otherwise, this would be exclusive to HeartGold. Basically, anything that applies to Latios applies here, just with the special attack and special defense swapped. Latios has a signature move called Mist Ball, a 70 power special psychic type move with a 50% chance to lower the opponent's special attack. It's interesting for sure, and I'd hardly call it a useless move, but you'll probably end up picking Psychic anyway. The SoulSilver item that we have just obtained will boost the special attack and special defense of Latios or Latias by 50%. As I've mentioned before, this item is banned in battle facilities, so don't try using it to cheat the battle frontier, because it won't work. Hi. The embodiment of the North Wind itself, Suicune! So, my biggest grievances with Raikou and Entei were that they were some of the shallowest Pokemon around in spite of their good stats. Not so with Suicune. Of course, it's proficient in the Surf and Ice Beam, as you would expect, but Shadow Ball's another probable candidate if that TM is still in your pocket. Suicune has magnificent defensive stats and was the king of Calm Mind in its day. Unfortunately, because it's in Johto and Kanto, it misses out on that move entirely unless you do the Battle Frontier. But between its stats, reliable type, and a better move variety than Raikou and Entei, it's the clear leader of the three. This is your chance to nab a strong water type. Pikachu's most useless appearance next to Pokemon Black and White. This is not an encounter. It's level 7 at best, and I'm just gonna say it. We're about to catch a level 50 electric type that's objectively better than Pikachu in every way. This is the kind of failure that isn't even worth ranking. I never thought I'd be more positive about frickin' Magikarp than Pikachu, but here we are. I guess Magikarp and Pikachu are both good in the Pokeathlon on that note, so they're even in that regard. Articuno! Its majesty is a team player. The name of the game with Articuno is Support and Ice Beam. I suppose there's two names to the game. It starts knowing Reflect, and it might even get Tailwind before we're done. Despite having an unfortunate type with lots of weaknesses, it still manages due to its stats being competent. This is a good Pokemon to use a Toxic TM on it, since it struggles to find 4 moves otherwise. But it has the stats to stay around for a little while in spite of that type. Maybe not what you'd expect from the words legendary Pokemon, but there is something to be said for utility. Giovanni himself has appeared! Go Celebi! A timeless encounter! With 100 in all stats and natural cure for its ability, it comes out to a sublime counter to water types. First off, it does have nasty plot from the get-go, making it a wondrous special attacker, but it gets no Calm Mind or Thunder Wave without a whole bunch of BP from the Battle Frontier. It's good, it just requires a bit of a steep investment, and then it has to consume a Psychic TM in order to get that move. So we got good moves, if a little bit hard to obtain some of them. We have good stats, but it's stuck with Grass and Psychic type. It covers a lot of bases offensively, but its type has 7 weaknesses. And it works out to just kind of being a pretty good Pokemon and not a crazy overpowered one. How fitting the so-called ultimate Pokemon of Johto has these problems too. The spiky-eared Pichu. Is always female. It's one of those Pokemon that is considered an entirely different species from its other kin. This means that it can never evolve. And it's one of those weird mid-generational new Pokemon that can never be transferred out to any other game. It's never appeared ever again in the series. It has identical stats and abilities to other Pichu, making it not terribly useful, but it comes knowing the moves Volt Tackle, Helping Hand, Swagger, and Pain Split, which is pretty unique for Pichu standards. It comes holding a Zap Plate too, which could be useful for the Pokeathlon. And speaking of the Pokeathlon, it's amazing in the Pokeathlon. Spiky-eared Pichu has 5 stars in speed and potentially 5 stars in skill if it's raised up enough. Pretty dang good. Here's a Pokemon that will always be good. Zapdos has the incredible electric flying type, making it hard for many Pokemon to even land a good hit on it. It lets Zapdos stick around where other electric types could not. It comes knowing agility, and I'd suggest keeping it because we're about to fight loads of dangerous foes well above our level. It shocks stuff into submission. It uses Fly, and you can do a U-turn. It's a perfect example of basic, but just really, really good. What else do you need? It's freaking Zapdos! Mewtwo! The undisputed king of the first 251. What can I say? He's off the charts. That speed, combined with its level, will strike down anything we'll come across before they can even blink. And that special force is just plain fearsome. They won't even know what hit it. Grow it just 1 level, and it picks up Psychic without even needing a TM, which will tear apart any foe that doesn't resist it. Rounding out its kit, there's too much to list. Mewtwo can master almost every TM. The Game Corner Trio, check. Shadow Ball, of course. Freaking Rock Slide and Drain Punch? Because why not? Reflect and Light Screen? Yeah, it does support too. Mewtwo can be basically anything you want it to be. There's no telling what it will do next. Sneasel. This feels like a mistake. You can only buy its evolution item in the Battle Frontier for an outrageous 48 BP. Freaking get out of here, you don't count. Seriously, this thing should have been an ice path like in the original, and then just like, I don't know, toss a Razor Claw in Blackthorn City if you use the item finder or something. And then we got Rapidash. It's fast, it uses fire moves, it gets Mega Horn. With a from a heart scale, not much has really changed, but I wouldn't recommend it as a last second fire type. As you will see in a moment, we have something that is much easier to add to a team for a last second fire type. Pupitar. Level 45 in HeartGold, but only 30 in SoulSilver for some reason. If your reality is HeartGold, then sure. It wouldn't take too much to get up to Tyranitar, and it can definitely tussle with enemies well beyond its level. Final encounter. Moltres is strong, but let down by its type. Get this, it doesn't struggle to learn good moves! God, it took them how long? You could go Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Overheat, or even Heat Wave. It's got basically every good fire move for every environment. Heck, at that point, why not just teach it Overheat and another fire move so that it's got a nice finishing move if it needs that little bit extra power? It already knows Air Slash and is one of the few Pokemon that can really capitalize on agility. Its special attack burns so brightly, and it's an excellent sweeper. A personal favorite last move that I like to give it is U-turn, just because it's so wacky and unexpected, and it works well for it. Between all that and its high level, there is none greater than it out of all fire types. Earthquake! Groudon's forceful offensive and ability to just wall physical attacks makes it formidable indeed. Believe it or not, even with 90 speed, I'd still call Groudon a sweeper. It's compatible with Rock Polish and Swords Dance, and has the turns to play around with using them. Groudon is even a ruthless Dragon Slayer thanks to Dragon Claw. Groudon's signature ability Drought summons indefinite strong sunlight, giving it potential as a team player too. Now, Groudon here sounds like a machine, but I kinda have to say that its ability isn't the most useful if your team doesn't support it. It's because Groudon doesn't really benefit from strong sunlight. Sure, it enjoys taking neutral damage from water, but it has no business dedicating precious move slots to Flamethrower or Solar Beam. It can use those moves fine and all, but let's be real. You want physical moves when your attack is 150. It's just too good to ignore. It also doesn't have a fire type, so it doesn't qualify for same type attack bonus on those, so it doesn't see as much of a buff as its counterpart does. A vicious sweeper and a strong support, but doesn't really see much use out of its own ability. Kyogre might just be the strongest Pokemon of them all in this adventure. Its signature ability Drizzle calls forth rain that will never end unless overwritten by another weather effect. When combining the buff from the rain with its own water type, its water moves effectively do 2.25 times damage without so much as any type advantage. Not to mention 150 special attack backing it up. Did I mention that? Its Surf and Hydro Pump will erode even neutral matchups until nothing is left. Kyogre doesn't even need a TM to get Ice Beam or Calm Mind. Seriously, when's the last time you can name us seeing a Pokemon with access to Calm Mind? It might as well be a signature trait of this thing if you're not playing the Battle Frontier. I've got an evil last move recommendation for you. Thunder. With Kyogre's Rain, it never misses. Not even 100% accurate. It just straight up never even bothers to check for accuracy. And that's just thinking of Kyogre all by itself. Let's say your team has another user of Thunder, or another water type, or some other ability activated by Rain. Kingdra, perhaps? Two water types aren't a bad idea at all. It's a potentially unbeatable support in the right team. Who needs rolls or statusing or deep move pools when you can just win? The only bad thing about Kyogre is that we can't take it inside the Battle Frontier. But that goes for all of the other Pokemon we'll be seeing here today. Our true final foe, the roughest storm, Rayquaza! It's a shame we have nothing left to fight because Rayquaza would have beaten it all. We get 150 out of all damage types and could buff that with Swords Dance or Dragon Dance, whichever you prefer. Going all in on damage is your best bet. We have the Life Orb from the Ruins of Alph, it comes knowing Outrage, and that's what it should attack with in 95 out of 100 cases. Oh, excuse me. You're worried about confusion, recoil, type matchups? None of that matters. Even if Outrage gets resisted by something, it's Rayquaza, baby! It'll wipe out half their team before there's any consequences to pulling that trigger. Even if it faints, you'll still be at such an advantage by the time it's done freaking out that they'll be the ones picking up the pieces. For its remaining moves, I don't know, Earthquake, Ice Beam, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower, and so much more is all present and accounted for. Personally, I teach it Overheat as a special nuke for its last move. The last part to touch on is its ability, Airlock. Hardly any Pokemon neutralize weather, and that can be potentially good, but it probably won't ever come up in a meaningful way in the Johto and Kanto regions specifically. The only drawback is having an exploitable type, so be wary when switching it in.